Chapter 23:14. Paying a visit to the fire shrine. Qing Feng and Jing went back. They realized that many strong cultivators had gathered in a main hall, including important people from many clans. That palace was the most imposing and magnificent, used for extraordinary ceremonies. There were phoenix statues and carvings everywhere. They looked almost alive as they kept moving. It was the first time Qing Feng had been there, so Jing led the way. There was a huge crowd seated there, and a banquet table, but nobody helping themselves. They were just chatting. When the crowd saw Qing Feng and Jing arrive, they all suddenly turned around and stared at Qing Feng. "Qing Feng, come here and have a seat," said the organizer of the banquet, an old man. He smiled at Qing Feng gently. Qing Feng had never seen him before, but he smiled at her as if they were close to one another. He even looked very kind. But that precisely made Qing Feng grow cold. It was difficult to explain how she felt with words. An old man who had an extraordinarily high position within the Void Phoenix clan was being extremely kind to her. What was the reason? Qing Feng didn't feel honored at all. Qing Feng, that's the greatest elder of the Void Phoenix clan, Saint Xiang. He's an extraordinary living being. Next to him is the leader of the Void Phoenix clan, Jing told Qing Feng. Qing Feng was astonished. She said indifferently, "I'll just sit on the ground." Saint Xiang nodded and smiled. "If you prefer, no problem. Seats are a trivial matter." Qing Feng and Jing sat down on the ground and heard Saint Xiang say, "Qing Feng, this is Qiong Haiya." "Qiong." Jing frowned, and her beautiful eyes glittered. "Someone whose family name is Qiong is from the fire shrine." Jing looked at Qing Feng. Qing Feng looked calm and serene. Hadn't she heard? Or didn't she know who the Qiongs were in the fire shrine? Qiong Haiya just glanced at Qing Feng and smiled at her calmly. He raised his cup of tea and had a few sips. He continued watching Qing Feng after that. She frowned. He wasn't very polite, so she just grunted coldly. The hearts of the members of the Void Phoenix clan started pounding furiously when they heard Qing Feng. But Qiong Haiya smiled easily. "I like that kind of personality." He sounded quite composed. Saint Xiang smiled. "Haiya, if you like Qing Feng, that is great, especially since you're going to spend the rest of your lives together." "Qing Feng is so lucky," smiled a strong cultivator of the Void Phoenix clan. It sounded like Qing Feng was goods to be sold. "What is that supposed to mean?" said Qing Feng, frowning icily. "Qing Feng, Qiong Haiya is your future husband. Be good to him," said Saint Xiang, smiling gently. Qing Feng was astonished when she realized what was going on. The Void Phoenix clan wanted her to marry him. Actually, it wasn't the idea of the Void Phoenix clan, it was the idea of the fire shrine. "No," said Qing Feng, suddenly standing up. Her expression changed drastically. She was furious. "Qing Feng," said Jing. Her face stiffened. They weren't in their own courtyard here, and her mother wasn't there. The greatest cultivators of the clan were here. Qing Feng couldn't be rude. The consequences would be disastrous. As expected, Saint Xiang frowned. A terrifying strength surrounded Qing Feng. She could barely breathe. "Take her down. She doesn't understand anything." "Haiya, I hope you don't mind," said Saint Xiang, waving his hands. Instantly, some people threw themselves at Qing Feng. Qing Feng wanted to say something, but some people grabbed her and took her away. Qiong Haiya remained composed, even expressionless. "Haiya, we can discuss the wedding." "Huaxing Zi, Jing, you can prepare things together," said Saint Xiang, smiling calmly. Initially, he didn't intend to get involved in Jing's wedding, but now he did. "All right. Good," said Qiong Haiya, smiling and nodding. Jing's expression turned deathly pale. When Qing Feng had been taken away, she hadn't reacted because she knew it was useless. She couldn't do anything. Lin Feng waited for Qing Feng for a very long time. He used his godly awareness to contact her and she didn't reply. Lin Feng's heart twitched. The Void Phoenix clan probably prevented her from doing anything. Otherwise, she would have replied instantly. Qing Feng might be imprisoned and oppressed. They could also prevent her from receiving messages using godly awareness. She was probably isolated from the outside world. "Little boy, let's go back," said Lin Feng, petting the dragon's head. They didn't go to the Void Phoenix clan. He could imagine what was happening. The dragon rumbled and took Lin Feng away. As they flew above the clouds, the dragon rumbled more, telling Lin Feng something. "You're telling me we should go to the supreme animal world? They can help me?" Lin Feng understood what the dragon said. He was surprised but demurred. "No need. I can solve the problem myself. But the problem is not the Void Phoenix clan, it's the Fire Shrine. They're waiting for me." Fire Shrine. The dragon didn't understand what Lin Feng meant. Lin Feng gazed into the distance. At the same time, the strong cultivators of the Fire Shrine left the Void Phoenix clan. Qiong Haiya gazed into the distance, in the direction of the World Clan. He smiled provokingly. The Fire Shrine had been humiliated twice. Now, it was time to show everyone that nobody wanted to humiliate them. Daimon and the World Clan had to learn that too. Qiong Haiya really wanted to see how strong Daimon was. Why is he so arrogant? Lin Feng returned to the World Clan and went to a courtyard. There was an old man from the World Clan there. When he saw the demon dragon, he rose up into the air and greeted him. "Lin Feng, how come you have sought me out? You probably understand how strong the army of the World Clan is, and you probably understand how strong my army is. In your opinion, are we strong enough to fight against the Void Phoenix clan?" Lin Feng asked calmly. The old man frowned and replied, "Resisting them isn't a problem. But the Void Phoenix clan is a holy sage ruler clan. They have existed for a very long time. Unless it's necessary, we don't need to be enemies with them," the old man answered. "Of course, it's just a suggestion. If you think otherwise, I don't mind. I don't think we need to fight against them either. I just asked randomly. Help me transmit a message. Say that Daimon wants to go to the Fire Shrine to apologize, and he wants to pay a visit to the Fire Shrine in the name of the World Clan," said Lin Feng. The old man frowned. How insane! This madman wants to pay a visit to the Fire Shrine. Chapter 23:15, Godly Fire Shield. The news that the World Clan wanted to pay a visit to the Fire Shrine spread quickly. Many people paid attention to it. The Fire Shrine had been humiliated and were going through difficult times. Now the World Clan had suddenly reappeared in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, and they had a terrifying young disciple, Daimon. He was extremely strong and had easily defeated Hushang. That could be a problem for the Fire Shrine. The meeting point they agreed on was Ruin City, an ancient city full of ruins on fire. There weren't many ancient cities in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, and it was one of them. It was said that in the ancient past, a person of unusual ability called Qiong Shao had set the city on fire with a magic hellfire and slaughtered millions of people like that. He then created some holy sage ruler clans, and had helped the Fire Shrine become extremely strong. The city was perfect for fire cultivators, and many people still went there to practice fire cultivation. The flames there never went out. Everybody knew the legends about Ruin City. The Fire Shrine proposed Ruin City for their meeting with the World Clan on purpose. Many people thought the Fire Shrine wouldn't go through the same thing as last time. The Demon Shrine had agreed to meet with Emo Zheng on their battle stage, but they hadn't gained face. On the contrary, they had lost face. As a result, Emo Zheng was becoming famous in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. The shrines were like gods in this world. Each time they did something, everybody paid attention to them. Many people thought that the World Clan was brave. Did they really want to apologize? If that was the case, why would the Fire Shrine have chosen Ruin City to meet them? Many strong cultivators who learned about this headed off to Ruin City. Ruin City was filled with ruins and fire, so there weren't many people there normally. But this time, many people had gathered, staying high up in the sky because they didn't want to get hurt. There were random explosions all the time here. Of course, some extremely strong cultivators also walked on the ground in the middle of the ruins and flames. Those people are extremely strong. They must all be celestial emperors at least. Even though Ruin City's flames aren't as terrifying as in the past, they're still deadly. Even some saint emperors could die here, especially when there are random explosions. Quipped a strong cultivator in the sky. The city was dangerous, everybody knew it. Ordinary people can't come here. Those who come must be at least celestial emperors. But look over there, there's a clan. They live here," said someone, pointing at a nearby fire mountain at that moment. There was a small city at its foot, and a clan was living there. Those clans are fire clans. They're very dangerous. They keep absorbing fire to become stronger. They've lived here for a very long time. They're really dangerous. People didn't know much about the clans that lived in Ruin City. In the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, cities were gigantic. Even though Ruin City was filled with ruins, there were still some people who lived there, but nobody paid attention to them. How hot? The temperature is increasing. Those people the fire shrine will send are among the strongest of the shrine, I would guess. They decided to meet the members of the World Clan here to make things difficult for them, remarked someone. Finally, they saw some people appear in the distance. They were on the ground and looked like fire spirits, and were holding terrifying fire shields. There were ancient patterns on them, absorbing the flames around them. Back then when Qiong Shao fought in that great war, he had a fire shield. It was terrifying. And now the fire shrine sent such terrifying people. It's going to be difficult for the World Clan, thought the crowd staring at the crowd on the ground. Who are those in the middle? They look quite imposing, asked someone. There was a young man with a shield there. Qiong Haiya, whispered someone, gazing into the distance. In the outside world, Qiong Haiya wasn't as famous as Huashang. Many people had never even heard about him. Only a few extremely strong and important people from various clans knew about him. People who knew were always astonished when they met someone whose name was Qiong. Many people from different shrines had arrived. They were in the sky, and when they saw the force on the ground, they were astonished. The fire shrine really wanted to regain face. Even Qiong Haiya was there. Huashang was also in the middle of the crowd and holding a fire shield too. The fire shrine's shields, a very powerful shield technique. It's almost unbreakable. How is the World Clan going to come in? Wondered the members of the shrines. If they didn't manage to break through, then it meant they weren't qualified to meet them. If the World Clan came, they'd just humiliate themselves. At that moment, bestial chi rose to the skies. An eagle dove down, his body so big that he blotted out the sky. He didn't care about the flames. Small black blades emerged from his mouth and descended from the sky. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine moved too. The patterns on the fire shields changed, and suddenly a gigantic illusionary field appeared. The bestial energies could easily destroy mountains, but the shield blocked all his attacks. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine condensed all their strength in that shield, and suddenly it started spitting out flames which filled the air. The beast roared furiously and rose back up in the air, furious as it started burning. As expected, the fire shrine doesn't intend to let anyone come to the ground, sighed the crowd when they saw that. Huashang was a genius of the fire shrine, and he was in the crowd, protecting it too. The fire shrine had chosen Ruin City because they could use the shield Qiong Shao had used back then. They wanted people to remember Qiong Shao in them. How strong! Saint Emperors can't even break through the shield, the crowd mused. Even though they weren't participating, they could imagine how terrifying that shield was. Since the World Clan is here, come out, all of you, no need to hide, said one of the protectors at that moment. The crowd was surprised. The World Clan was already there? Cyan lights twinkled. Many silhouettes appeared around the battlefield, coming out of nowhere, surrounded by mysterious world lights. They came out of the flames of Ruin City. It was difficult to imagine. The World Clan likes to hide. They've been hiding for such a long time, said someone mockingly. We just came to apologize, and you made us come here, and you brought such an army. You really overestimate the World Clan, said an old man, smiling as he stared at the members of the fire shrine. We don't really care about your apologies. How many people did you bring? To pay us a visit, you need to prove you're qualified, said the strong cultivator of the fire shrine. If the World Clan wanted to pay them a visit, they first had to break the shield. Chapter 23:16. Illusion deployment spell outside of the protected area, the silhouettes became real. The strong cultivators of the World Clan had officially arrived now. How strong? How powerful is the World Clan now? The watching crowd wondered. But even that way, they won't be able to break through. That fire shield is incredible, both in terms of defense and offense. Since it's that way, even though we're very weak, if you want to show us how powerful the fire shield is, we'll have to give it a try, said the old man of the World Clan calmly. Reality began to undulate. The strong cultivators of the World Clan were using godly awareness to communicate. World Gate, said someone coldly. Dazzling world lights moved towards the sky and condensed. Instantly, chi started being corroded. A dazzling world gate appeared and absorbed strength. Go! The strong cultivators of the World Clan joined hands to attack. The gate moved towards the strong cultivators of the fire shrine and surrounded them while people shouted furiously. Their fire started being absorbed. The illusionary world door surrounded them. Their silhouettes became illusionary, it as if they could disappear anytime. Protect, said a strong cultivator of the fire shrine at that moment. The fire shield appeared in front of that strong cultivator and blocked the world lights. Teleportation, said someone coldly. The atmosphere warped. The fire shrine's strong cultivator was being drawn towards the gate. The crowd was astonished. The attack of the World Clan's strong cultivators was astonishing. World strength was mysterious and powerful. No wonder they were strong. Godly body connection defense, said the strong cultivators of the fire shrine coldly. Dazzling fire lights appeared and suddenly, it was like the strong cultivators of the fire shrine were connected. A terrifying fire shield appeared and surrounded all of them. The world lights couldn't pierce through anymore. Incredible defense, how terrifying. It's as hard as diamond. I had never thought I would ever have the opportunity to see the fire shield of the fire shrine in my life, and especially used by Saint Emperors. How incredible! Die, said someone aggressively and furiously. Fireballs streaked across the sky and turned into greedy and hungry fire beasts. World lights condensed, the strong cultivators of the World Clan became illusionary and disappeared. The fire struck nothing but air. Attack, said a strong cultivator of the World Clan. They gathered and moved in the same direction. They needed to find an angle which they'd be able to pierce through. The energies gathering were oppressive. World strength filled the air, but the fire shrine cultivators didn't change. They had faith in their fire shield, it couldn't be broken. It was flawless. Break, said someone. World strength descended from the sky everywhere. Godly lacerating shield. Hard shields appeared above the fire shriners and rose into the air. They turned into a vortex of sharp strength that seemed able to cut apart anything. The world strength started breaking apart, but continued moving down towards the strong cultivators under the shield. It seemed unbreakable. Clear shattering sounds arose. The godly shield started cracking. There were explosions as the world strength assaulted it. At the same time, it continued spitting out terrifying flames and destroying the world strength. When all the energies vanished, the fire shrine's strong cultivators were still holding the shield up. The strong cultivators of the World Clan were astonished. The shield seemed unbreakable. It seemed as hard as diamond. The fire shrine's strong cultivators borrowed shield strength and were all connected together. The World Clan was very strong, as expected. They were starting to pierce through that incredible defense, said a strong cultivator of the fire shrine. He sounded proud and arrogant. They didn't attack, they just defended. They had hoped the World Clan wouldn't be able to break through at all. Cheong Hai-ya stood there calmly, as if all this had nothing to do with him. If the World Clan cannot break the shield thoroughly, we'll start attacking, said Cheong Hai-ya calmly. At that moment, in the distance, a silhouette appeared indistinctly in the flames. Is someone there? Surprisingly, that person is walking in the flames. How strong. It's him. There are people behind him too. The crowd finally noticed Lin Feng. Many people frowned. Walking slowly in the middle of ruined city's flames was extraordinary. What's that? A demon dragon? The crowd noticed a gigantic creature next to Lin Feng. It looked like a demon dragon was following Lin Feng. They were getting closer and closer, so the crowd could see them more distinctly. Cheong Hai-ya looked at Lin Feng, startled. He was there? Daimon who had defeated Huashang from the fire shrine easily? That daimon was probably a leader in the clan, just below the saints. I heard that last time, Daimon went to the Void Phoenix clan on a dragon. The rumors were true. A demon dragon of the supreme animal world is following Daimon. The crowd gasped. Lin Feng and the demon dragon arrived in front of the strong cultivators of the fire shrine and looked at the shield. That kind of shield couldn't be broken with powerful attacks. Only saints could break it. Since the shield was made of many shields, they had to attack them one by one and prevent them from being harmonized. The members of the fire shrine remained calm and looked at Daimon and his dragon. We initially wanted to come to apologize and pay a visit to the members of the fire shrine. In the end, you sent such a powerful army and were meeting far away from your territory. Lin Feng asked Qiong Haiya calmly. Not anyone can come to the fire shrine, especially to pay us a visit, replied Qiong Haiya indifferently. They both put on an air of extreme arrogance. All right, said Lin Feng nodding. He said, since you don't want to be friends with the World Clan, I'll have to solve the issue myself. Everybody, protect me from the sides, ordered Lin Feng calmly. The strong cultivators of the World Clan landed at Lin Feng's sides instantly. Lin Feng walked forwards. He didn't release a terrifying chi, he looked calm and serene. He looked at all the members of the fire shrine and noticed Huashang. Daimon from the World Clan. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to study your shield, said Lin Feng calmly. He said to all the members of the World Clan using telepathy, break the connections they have established between them. The strong cultivators of the World Clan released World Strength which moved straight towards Huashang. The World Strength started isolating Huashang from the rest of them. However, the shield was still there. Huashang continued holding his shield too. You're afraid of me, said Lin Feng, smiling casually. Huashang was stunned and staring at Lin Feng. You have the godly shield, why are you afraid of me? And you're considered as a genius of the fire shrine. You're not very self-confident, said Lin Feng, looking sad, as if he had pity for Huashang. Lin Feng sighed for him. Protect, said the strong cultivators of the fire shrine coldly. A gigantic shield appeared in front of Huashang. It's useless. You're not persistent, you're not determined. You're so weak. Even if someone protects you, it's just like the cover of a book protecting the pages, you can easily tear it off, said Lin Feng calmly. Huashang's consciousness became dimly discernible. It was as if Lin Feng and Huashang were the only ones left around, and only Huashang could hear Lin Feng's voice. That's my world strength. You're isolated from the rest of the world now. We are together. Do you think your shield can still protect you like that? Lin Feng sounded calm and sure. Huashang frowned. Impossible. It was an illusion. You're using an illusion technique. Even if you brought me here, I'm still with the others in the outside world. You can attack my will, but not my body, said Huashang, trying to keep calm. You're too naive. Nobody can break free from my world strength, said Lin Feng easily. Look carefully. He waved his hands and world strength rose up in the air, surrounding Huashang. He pulled a long face. He was isolated from the others. Attack, said Huashang coldly. Suddenly, fire strength struck out all around him. However, the strong cultivators around Lin Feng created world strength around them and the fire ended up in those doors. The attack didn't affect Lin Feng at all. Therefore, in Huashang's consciousness, the attack didn't work either. I told you I can easily isolate you guys, said Lin Feng calmly. He threw himself at Huashang and attacked. Huashang's face changed. He remembered how strong Lin Feng was, and suddenly retreated. Chapter 23:17. Killing a strong cultivator of the shrine. Huashang moved back, and a gap appeared in the shield. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine were astonished and shouted, Huashang! Huashang was astonished. He kept moving back, but Lin Feng continued moving towards him and smiling evilly. It's an illusion. He just wants to scare me and make me move back, thought Huashang. Lin Feng moved towards him. The strong cultivators of the World Clan were protecting him and absorbing Huashang's strength. There was an explosion. Lin Feng punched a strong cultivator in front of him through the hole. The attack was dreadful, as Lin Feng's physical strength was astonishing. His god Dao turned into a golden heaven and earth chi which pressed forwards with indomitable will. Blinding lights kept flashing. The strong cultivator of the fire shrine sensed the ominously heavy force. It was a heavy blow. He released fire strength and raised his shield. The terrifying strength crashed onto the shield, the air trembled. The strong cultivator was pushed back a few steps. He groaned with pain and his shield cracked. "Attack!" shouted Lin Feng. The strong cultivators of the World Clan used world strength, world gates appeared, and the atmosphere was even more distorted. A few people were absorbed by the gates. They appeared somewhere else and their battle array became chaotic. The demon dragon roared furiously and jumped into the crowd. He swept out with his tail. Even though the demon dragon wasn't very strong, he was strong enough to cause chaos in the enemy's battle array. The strong cultivators of the World Clan didn't want the strong cultivators of the Fire Shrine to recreate their shield. Now that there was a hole, they had to take advantage of it. Lin Feng moved like the wind. He threw himself at someone else, releasing world strength. That person had the impression he had landed in another world. Lin Feng then released a god sword. Fire exploded around, the fire energies turned into an ocean of flames. Everything burned even more violently all around them. However, the ocean of fire began to distort and the strong cultivator's face stiffened. His cosmic energies became chaotic. He was astonished world strength could do that. "This is my world," said Lin Feng, slowly walking towards him. Sword lights appeared all around him. They contained pitch-black death strength. "You," that person was astonished and shouted, "you're not from the World Clan." But the attack was already moving towards him. He retreated, but Lin Feng was faster. He condensed more and more death strength and death stamps. That cultivator's face turned deathly pale. He said, "Death Dao. You're not Daimon from the World Clan, you're Lin Feng." "Death oppression," shouted Lin Feng furiously. Death was everywhere. That cultivator's face became even paler as the oppressive attack surrounded him. He had the impression a death world was crushing him. His face gradually turned pitch black. His life was being corroded away. "Die!" God's strength penetrated into his body. He was furious, his body suddenly became gigantic. He turned into a fire giant, he was bathing in flames. "Even if you're angry, you're still going to die," said Lin Feng coldly. He continued running towards his enemy. A terrifying and aggressive chi dashed to the skies and surged towards the fire giant. He started destroying his opponent's Dao will. The man roared furiously he didn't want to die. Lin Feng dared try to kill a Saint Emperor of the Fire Shrines. In the outside world, the crowd noticed that Lin Feng and the Saint Emperor had disappeared in world lights. Nobody knew what was going on in there. "Void-breaking vision," said a strong cultivator of the empty space shrine. His eyes became dazzling and he looked at the world strength which surrounded Lin Feng and his opponent. He was astonished and said, "I can't see through it. What kind of strength is that world strength? Does that daimon have a world king body? You can't see them?" Many people around were astonished. The void-breaking vision could see through almost anything. Surprisingly, he couldn't see through that world strength. "Yes, it seems empty inside, there's nothing." "It's clearly not possible," whispered the strong cultivator. The crowd frowned. Daimon was really too strong. Even the void-breaking vision couldn't see through his world strength. A terrifying explosive strength rent the air with thunder and fire. The world's strength broke apart. Lin Feng reappeared and groaned. There was blood on his clothes. At the same time, a terrifying fire strength appeared in the sky and gradually vanished. A shield fell down from the sky. People's hearts started pounding violently. Where was the strong cultivator who was fighting against Lin Feng? Was he dead? Many people were staring at Lin Feng, including Cheong Haiya. The members of the World Clan had killed a strong cultivator of the Fire Shrine? The World Clan dared act that arrogantly? Turning into an explosive fire Dao to explode and kill me at the cost of his life? What is that supposed to mean? Why does the Fire Shrine hate me like that? Why are you doing this? Said Lin Feng indifferently. The crowd frowned. Turning into explosive Dao as a sacrifice to kill Daimon? The fire strength which filled the air was indeed fire Dao. But even if the enemy had done that, it meant that Lin Feng had forced him to. Nobody was ready to sacrifice themselves to die and kill an adversary. You killed a member of the fire shrine? Said Qiong Haiya, staring at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng looked at him and said, "We came to apologize. Why did you prepare all this? That's not what I had expected at all. However, a moment ago, even though he killed himself, it's also because of me indirectly. Maybe he was too weak, so when he sensed my strength, he got scared and thought it could kill him. In order not to tarnish the reputation of the fire shrine, he decided to kill himself and died." When the crowd heard him, they were speechless. What he was saying had many implications. The strong cultivator of the fire shrine was too weak and couldn't withstand a single attack, so he killed himself. Daimon hadn't killed him himself. The strong cultivators of the fire shrine had provoked him and didn't mind dying, so they couldn't blame him. He was too weak, so he deserved to die, indeed. "If you're too weak, you deserve to die too, of course," said Qiong Haiya calmly, but he was also threatening Lin Feng. "Even though the fire shrine is extremely strong, if we decide to battle to death, I don't mind dying," replied Lin Feng calmly. The crowd was astonished. Daimon dared say that to Qiong Haiya. It meant that now they couldn't blame him anymore for that strong cultivator's death, even if he had killed him. "Very good," said Qiong Haiya coldly. Dazzling fire swords appeared around him. "His family name is Qiong. How strong is he?" The crowd was staring at him. People whose family name was Qiong in the fire shrine were among the strongest cultivators of the fire shrine. They had held power and influence in the fire shrine for such a long time. People from the other shrines were also staring at Qiong Haiya. He rarely showed up outside. They were curious to see how strong he was and what his fighting abilities were. If they saw how strong he was, they would be able to imagine how strong the Qiongs were. Qiong Haiya flashed forwards, the fire swords behind him turning into suns. The fireballs were like small suns and could burn anything. There were 9 sun swords around him before they oriented on Lin Feng. However, he didn't stop there. Qiong Haiya flashed forwards, and after that, 9 ice-cold moons also appeared. The crowd started trembling. Extreme cold and heat together made them shake. It was extremely unpleasant. Sun fire. They were astonished. In Ruin City, apart from a scorching hot sun fire, there was also ice-cold moon coldness. Qiong Shao, who had created the city, probably controlled 2 sorts of strength. Lin Feng looked at the 9 suns and 9 moons. It reminded him of his cosmos-burning sun technique back in the days. Qiong Haiya was really strong. The 18 swords condensed together and turned into sun and moon patterns. Fire surged out. 2 sorts of intent surrounded Lin Feng. Many strong cultivators took steps backwards. Chapter 23:18. Suddenly leaving the scorching hot chi contained ice-cold energy too. Everybody understood that it was Qiong Haiya's Dao. The strong cultivators of the World Clan and the Fire Shrine moved away to give space to Lin Feng and Qiong Haiya. Lin Feng looked calm and indifferent. However, he was a bit surprised on the inside. Qiong Haiya was probably a true core disciple of the Fire Shrine. The World Clan is back in the Imperial Court of the Continent of the 9 Clouds. "I'm surprised that they chose to oppose the Fire Shrine," said Qiong Haiya indifferently. Qiong Haiya was right actually. Previously, when Mo Zheng and Mo Fu had agreed to have a battle, the World Clan had reappeared in the Imperial Court of the Continent of the 9 Clouds, and they hadn't chosen to confront anyone else, yet they immediately provoked the Fire Shrine. The Fire Shrine wasn't very happy about it. Therefore, we'll see how long the World Clan will survive in the Imperial Court of the Continent of the 9 Clouds, said Qiong Haiya. He didn't look nervous at all. Huashang was staring at Qiong Haiya in surprise. Qiong Haiya looked like a conquering hero. At his cultivation level, people were ever more dangerous, but they also grew more and more introverted. Qiong Haiya stretched out his hand, and the sun and moon patterns suddenly moved towards Lin Feng. They looked extremely sharp, both hot and cold. Lin Feng sensed the heat and coldness. That kind of strength was much more powerful than pure cold or pure heat. The moon and sun swords arrived. Lin Feng released an incredible amount of deployment lights, which turned into walls. However, the moon and sun swords pierced through them. Lin Feng waved his hands and empty space cosmic energies filled the air. Beasts ran forwards and roared furiously, carrying the swords away. The World Clan's strong cultivators' world strength is terrifying. They can even use empty space strength to enhance their world strength, the watching crowd analyzed. Qiong Haiya groaned coldly. He jumped to the clouds, and a gigantic sword which seemed to come from the skies appeared, his sun and moon energies dazzling to the eyes. 2 tornadoes made of fire appeared. It didn't look like a sword attack anymore, but an ocean of fire. Lin Feng looked at the sky, slowly walking forwards. His terrifying cosmic energies turned into empty space strength. A gigantic hand rose up into the air and grabbed the sword. A strong wind made of empty space strength roared furiously. Qiong Haiya looked surprised, but just smiled coldly and disappeared from where he was. After a few seconds, the sun and moon's strength penetrated into Lin Feng's body with a formidable Dao strength. Lin Feng released God's strength inside of his body and started destroying his opponent's Dao strength. A light emerged from Lin Feng's body and shot towards the finger Haiya had used to release that attack. Lin Feng ignored everything else, he just focused on that finger. The fire surrounded Lin Feng, his soul was shaking, facing the end of its time. "How strong!" murmured the crowd. There was saint strength in that attack, as if it had been a saint's finger. "Die!" said Qiong Haiya to Lin Feng. His finger thrust towards Lin Feng's third eye. But a terrifying strength moved towards Qiong Haiya and penetrated into his body. Lin Feng condensed more strength and raised his fist, punching out a fist filled with God's strength. "You're too naive," said Lin Feng indifferently. There was an explosion. Lin Feng was now in the ocean of flames and coldness. It was a challenge for his soul. Lin Feng liked it. Qiong Haiya was smashed backwards, his finger trembling. It looked broken and painful. The strength assaulting the inside of his body was terrifying. "Umph." Qiong Haiya groaned coldly, staring at Lin Feng. He started moving again and released fireballs at Lin Feng. This time, a terrifying cosmos-burning hand imprint appeared, burning the air around it. The gigantic hand came down on Lin Feng. Lin Feng moved again. A gigantic sword appeared and started destroying the hand. Dazzling empty space lights appeared and tore the gigantic hand apart. Lin Feng smiled coldly and said, "Today, we came to pay a visit to the fire shrine, but the fire shrine doesn't like us and despises us. The World Clan doesn't need to stay here. Let's go." All the strong cultivators of the World Clan released world strength quickly, their silhouettes flickered and they were gone. What a mysterious world strength. The World Clan's world strength is better than wind or empty space strength to travel. "How ominous," the crowd murmured. Lin Feng withdrew and gradually disappeared from Qiong Haiya's field of vision. "It's not over, you can't leave," said Qiong Haiya coldly. He ran towards Lin Feng and his demon dragon. "We're not leaving the region." "We'll meet again," replied Lin Feng indifferently. The demon dragon took him away into the vast ocean of flames of ruined city. "Chase him," said Qiong Haiya coldly. Instantly, the strong cultivators of the fire shrine started flying after them into the ocean of flames. However, Lin Feng had disappeared inside. There was a pained scream, and a strong cultivator came out of the flames. His lower body had disappeared and blood was dripping out. He looked wretched and miserable as he cried out sadly. He had almost died. A silhouette suddenly appeared next to him. Qiong Haiya asked, "What's going on?" He wasn't gone. There was hidden world strength in there. "He's still in there, I think," said the strong cultivator, pointing at the ground. His face was deathly pale, and blood kept dripping from his missing limbs. But Lin Feng's chi had already disappeared. Qiong Haiya looked furious. "Next time, we'll exchange views on cultivation again with the fire shrine." Lin Feng's voice came from the distance. All the strong cultivators of the fire shrine gathered around Qiong Haiya and looked at him. Qiong Haiya pulled a long face. He had chosen this place to help the fire shrine regain face, and once again they had failed. Lin Feng kept provoking them. He had even killed one of their saint emperors. In the end, he had just left, They hadn't even managed to get through in one piece. Of course, many people had also seen how strong the Cheong family of the fire shrine was. Cheong Haya wasn't a stranger anymore in the region, he was going to be famous. How many people like him did the shrines have? Initially, Lin Feng wanted to pay a visit to the fire shrine. He hadn't thought things would be this dramatic. He hadn't thought they would need to fight. After all, the World Clan wasn't strong enough to fight against the fire shrine for real. He had appeared in the name of the World Clan and couldn't display his real strength, or people would recognize his style. What he had done today was enough. Almo roared his displeasure. Lin Feng was on his back and smiled. I think that Cheong Haya might be the one who wants to get married with Qing Feng. It should be true if they used the Phoenix Blood Talisman to contact her. The Cheongs must be famous in the fire shrine. We will definitely meet again. Chapter 23:19. People from everywhere the World Clan and the Fire Shrine had battled. The Void Phoenix Clan had seen it, and they felt very unhappy. Daimon was incredibly strong and sinister. However, he didn't know how to appreciate people's kindness. Surprisingly, he kept provoking the Fire Shrine. After all, Cheong Haya and Qing Feng, as well as Huixing Zi and Jing, were now supposed to be close to one another. The Void Phoenix Clan treated them like they were part of the Fire Shrine. Of course, some people were really happy, especially the members of the other shrines. The Fire Shrine kept losing face. It was good for them, so they were gloating over the rivals' misfortune. After all, the shrines had existed for a very long time, but they were all competitors, not allies. If they had an opportunity, they would definitely finish off one another. It was especially true now that the Void Phoenix Clan and the Fire Shrine were trying to push their relations to the next level. Of course, the other shrines, including the Fortune Shrine, also had such relations with other clans from the Northwest area and other regions of the Imperial Court of the Continent of the Nine Clouds. As soon as the shrines and people from other clans got married, it propelled their relations to the next level. Such connections existed everywhere in the region. The Buddha Shrine was in the western part of the Imperial Court of the Continent of the Nine Clouds where the Countless Shrine used to be. They were one of the oldest shrines. They rarely tried to compete with the others. However, nobody dared underestimate them just because they didn't like fighting. There were ancient districts on the ground. In the ancient times, in the Countless Shrine, there used to be many Buddhist schools. It was a holy place for them. A few people were on the flight of stairs, their clothes torn apart. They had fought in a great battle. However, their chi was extremely powerful. A young Buddhist monk looked at the shrine and slowly walked up. He put his palms together, looking solemn and respectful. Up in the sky, golden lights flashed, and a Sakyamuni Buddha appeared. "Why did you come?" asked the Sakyamuni. "I came to get help on the path of Buddhism," declared the young Buddhist monk calmly. Some strong, dazzling golden Buddhas appeared around him. "What is Buddhism?" asked the golden Sakyamuni. "I've been studying Buddhism for a very long time, but I can't understand the true essence of Buddhism. That's why I came," replied the Buddhist monk in a sharp and clear voice. "To ask for help on the path of Buddhism, you must go through 81 calamities. Can you endure that?" asked the golden Sakyamuni. The young Buddhist monk nodded calmly. "All right. The first calamity, the death calamity," said the golden Sakyamuni coldly. A gigantic golden hand descended from the sky towards the young man. It was going to crush him. The young man put his palms together and a gigantic ancient Buddha appeared. The gigantic Buddha hand and the ancient Buddha collided. Dazzling golden lights flashed. "Why did you stop it?" asked the voice coldly. His chi oppressed the young man. "I came to ask for help on the path of Buddhism. If I wanted to experience death, I could do it anywhere else," said the young man calmly. "Besides, if I could understand Buddhism for real, I'd understand life and death even better, of course." After that, the Sakyamuni remained silent and disappeared. A Buddhist monk appeared at the top of the flight of stairs and asked, "He's from the Fortune Shrine, why is he here?" People from the Fortune Shrine believe in destiny, and the destiny technique said he would be better off in the Buddha Shrine. My shrine, the Fortune Shrine, is willing to exchange outstanding disciples with the Buddha Shrine. There is no interest conflict in being both a Buddhist and a member of the Fortune Shrine, said a young man next to him. He smiled and looked up at the sky. The Fortune Shrine controls the destiny technique. They can predict destiny relatively precisely. Since they say Buddhism is appropriate for him, it must be. We'll take him as a disciple, said the person at the top of the flight of stairs. He put his palms together and smiled. Thank you very much. The empty space shrine wants to kill him. However, now that he's also a disciple of the Buddha Shrine, they won't dare act insolently, replied the Fortune Shrine's strong cultivator with a smile. They both looked at the young man. Kong Ming, enjoy your time in the Buddha Shrine, we're off. Thank you, Master, Kong Ming said to the people who had taken him there. Kong Ming was now far away in the Buddha Shrine. In the sky, there were a strong cultivator using their void-breaking vision to watch all that. When they saw it, they grimaced. I didn't think the Fortune Shrine would have such friends. They even dared put one of their great disciples in the Buddha Shrine. From now on, Kong Ming is a disciple of 2 shrines. It will be difficult now, said one of them slowly. He was annoyed. They had chased Kong Ming for a long time. Finally, the Fortune Shrine had put him in the Buddha Shrine. It was irritating. It's troublesome. The Buddha Shrine usually doesn't get involved in external affairs, but who knows? Maybe if we kill Kong Ming, that insane cultivator of the Buddha Shrine will go crazy and we won't offend just one shrine. The most annoying part is that the Fortune Shrine put Chu Chun Chiu in the supreme animal world, they protect Lin Feng, and now they put Kong Ming in the Buddha Shrine, so he's the disciple of 2 shrines. It's difficult to know who the forbidden person is. They could all be. The Fortune Shrine attaches so much importance to the 3 of them. The members of Empty Space Shrine all spoke up. In the supreme animal world, the news that Chu Chun Chiu had been to one of the 7 forbidden territories spread throughout the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. In the continent of the 9 clouds, including the imperial court, only a few people dared go to those areas. Now Chu Chun Chiu from the Fortune Shrine was one of them. The forbidden territory of Ganji's time in the supreme animal world was one of the 7 forbidden territories. Of course, Chu Chun Chiu had only been to a clear area. He hadn't been into the depths of the forbidden area. But now Chu Chun Chiu was getting stronger and stronger, and could surprisingly go to the forbidden areas alone. Those forbidden areas had a very, very long history. They were considered hellish forbidden areas. People who came out were usually insane and had lost their minds. Back in the days, a terrifying genius had gone to the supreme ancient pit of hell. He had gone there like a conquering hero, and he had come out completely insane. His only purpose in life had been to kill and kill and kill. When people thought of this, they were terror-stricken. Chu Chun Chiu had been there. Only a few people had the ability to go there. Apart from Chu Chun Chiu, there was another genius of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds who was in the supreme animal world. Zhou Rong Man was walking through the desert of the supreme animal world. He looked extremely strong. What the hell is this place? I'm so tired. Zhou Rong Man was sweating. He looked exhausted. He had been walking in that desert for a month, but he was still there. Was there no exit? He didn't know if he had been imprisoned, or if the desert was just too vast. Zhou Rong Man lay down on the sand and looked at the sky. How could I be so unlucky? I have the strongest blood strength of the continent of the 9 clouds. People have been trying to kill me for a long time, and now I'm stuck in here. Are you old men trying to deceive me? He shouted, and his voice spread far away in the distance. At that moment, Zhou Rong Man frowned. He sensed something on his hand. He quickly shook it and looked at it. Blood dripped off. Zhou Rong Man was stupefied. He was bleeding? Him. What the? Zhou Rong Man's heart started pounding. He gazed into the distance. He saw something sharp like pincers or claws, like a hand. Gradually, a gigantic golden insect appeared. Zhou Rong Man was astonished. But after that, he looked enthusiastic and shouted, "I finally found you. Come out. My name is Zhou Rong Man." His voice caused sound waves to roll in waves. Blood kept dripping. The golden insect dug into the ground and tried to hide in the sands. A crater appeared in Zhou Rong Man's field of vision. He was astonished. He had found the ones who had been chasing him. Chapter 2320, Invitation Letter. After his battle against Cheong Haiya, Lin Feng went back to the World Clan. He tried to contact Qing Feng, but it was useless. Qing Feng was isolated from the rest of the world. After that, Lin Feng learned that the one who had made the Void Phoenix clan call all their members using the Phoenix Blood Talisman the other day was Cheong Haiya. Now, Cheong Haiya went to the Void Phoenix clan. He wanted to finalize the marriage alliance with them. Lin Feng felt great pressure. Cheong Haiya wasn't Huixingzi. His name was Cheong. He had a very high social status in the Fire Shrine. And he couldn't contact Qing Feng. Daimon received an invitation letter. Lin Feng read the letter and was stupefied. This material is extremely precious and durable, mused Lin Feng with a smile. He looked at the name of the sender. Mu Shanzi. That name contained a particular qi. Who's Mu Shanzi? Wondered Lin Feng. He had never heard the name, and he wasn't very familiar with the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. He hadn't lived here his entire life. There were people who had been here for millions of years already. It was nothing in comparison with those people. He didn't know Mu Shanzi. I've checked. He's from the Thousand Ancient Dust Mountains clan. He's also a strong cultivator of the dazzling gold shrine. 100 years ago, he became a Saint Emperor. His Tao is at the maximum level. He is at the top of the Xingdi layer. He hasn't shown up for a while, but many people think he's going to try and become a saint now. A Saint Emperor who has no enemy at the same level? Mused Lin Feng. The expression, who had no enemy at the same level, was extremely relative at such high levels and in such places as the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Yes, he's among the strongest Saint Emperors of the imperial court. There aren't many people like him, said the strong cultivator next to Lin Feng. Lin Feng nodded. So Mu Shanzi is at the top of the Xingdi layer. What about Cheong Haiya? Some people have different fighting abilities at that level. It depends whether their Tao has reached the maximum level or not. You, for example, your Tao is at the maximum level, so when you reach the top of the Xingdi layer, you'll be much stronger than many people. Therefore, to become a Saint Emperor who has no enemy at the same cultivation level, you also need to fight a lot. You need to fight people who are already cultivators with no enemy at the level of the Xingdi layer. From what I know, Cheong Haiya hasn't reached such a level yet. Cheong Haiya hasn't reached that level. Lin Feng's eyes glittered. The criteria to become a Saint Emperor who had no enemy at the same cultivation level was very high. But in any case, being a Saint Emperor was already great. They didn't have many enemies anymore. Mu Shanzi had reached the top of the Xingdi layer. Why does he want to see me? Lin Feng smiled. He invited Lin Feng to come to his dusky mountain. Many other strong cultivators were going to be there, apparently. He had invited other people. Even though you showed up only twice in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, you drew many people's attention. It's not surprising that he invited you, said the World Clan's strong cultivator. Lin Feng asked, do you know why he invited people? I think it's related to the Forbidden Territories, replied the old man. Lin Feng was surprised and glanced at him. The World Clan knew more than he had imagined. Had the World Clan's decision to come to the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds been sudden, or did they have other motives? Lin Feng would understand soon enough. He was excited to progress on the path of cultivation. He had killed a Saint Emperor of the Fire Shrine in front of everybody the previous time. Many people had been amazed. Forbidden territory, whispered Lin Feng. He didn't know too much about the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, but he knew about the 7 forbidden territories. He had read books about them in the forbidden territory. He knew that Chu Chunqiu had been to the animal world's forbidden territory. He was probably very strong already. If I go, I will probably see many cultivators of the top of the Xingdi layer, smiled Lin Feng. The old man nodded. Mu Shanzi sent that invitation letter to people who have the same social status. There will be many strong cultivators from shrines. There will also be people who are very core disciples too. If you go, you will see some extraordinary people. 10,000 Dusk Mountains Mu Shan, repeated Lin Feng. Then he nodded and said, I'll go. I can't wait to see you become a peerless cultivator. If you become a Saint Emperor, You'll become incredible and such things won't be difficult for you anymore, sighed the old man. Lin Feng had nothing to say. He still had to complete his small world. He had to improve his god level, his god Dao. He had to understand his own strength a bit better. He might already be similar to Saint Emperors. Actually, as the old man had said, many people in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds received the invitation letter. But they were different from Lin Feng. They could contact one another and travel freely in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Many people from everywhere started traveling in the direction of the dazzling gold shrine. Lin Feng also left for the mountain. It was the first time he had traveled so far in the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds. His clone usually stayed in the fortune shrine all the time since the shrines wanted to kill him. Little boy, among the 7 forbidden territories, 3 of them are in the supreme animal world. There are many dangerous historical remains there. You've been in the Dragon Clan for such a long time. Do you know about the 3 forbidden territories of the supreme animal world? Lin Feng asked Alma. The 3 forbidden territories of the supreme animal world are really dangerous: Ganges Time, Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell, and the mythological animal mausoleum. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called forbidden territories. However, the most mysterious one is Ganges Time. It's an infinite ocean of light. It was where the Time Shrine's holy place was back in the ancient times. Only a few people have managed to cross it. I've heard of a Saint Emperor who had no enemy at the same cultivation level who surprisingly died outside of Ganges Time. Ganges Time. The Time Shrine. Lin Feng was stunned. The diviner had told him about those. The shrines had very long histories. He had read many books about the shrines too. The Time Shrine was one of the oldest shrines, like the Countless Shrine. The Countless Shrine had become the Buddha Shrine, and the Time Shrine had disappeared. So many people have died in the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. There are many things we can't imagine inside. Many people who have been there came out completely insane, said Alma. Regarding mythological animal mausoleum, even though it's a forbidden territory, the supreme animal world doesn't want people to go there because it's a sanctuary for beasts. Many ancient beasts are buried there. Many beasts revere it too much to go there. All right, Lin Feng nodded. The supreme animal world wanted to protect that sacred place. Who are the strongest clans in the supreme animal world? Asked Lin Feng. The Dragon Clan is one of the strongest clans. The Godly Phoenix Clan, the Unicorn Clan, and so on. Of course, there are some mysterious clans who are terrifyingly strong. In the future, we can go the supreme animal world together, and I'll show you, said Alma excitedly. Lin Feng grinned. In the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, there were some terrifyingly strong beasts, especially in the shrines, but the supreme animal world had the best ones. Chapter 23-21. Mu Shan Clan in the 10,000 Dusk Mountains. Dazzling golden lights were everywhere. The mountains seemed to be made of gold. This place was in the dazzling gold shrine's jurisdiction, and so had many cultivators who studied gold strength. Being close to the dazzling gold shrine, they had access to many resources. Even the buildings were made of gold. A strong cultivator in the 10,000 Dusk Mountains raised his head and looked at the sky. He was startled as he shouted out, "A dragon! Who's that?" "He's riding a powerful demon dragon." Many people were astonished. After all, dragons were considered incredible creatures in the world of cultivators. People were always impressed when they saw dragons. I've heard that Mu Shanzi invited many strong Saint Emperors to come. I wonder what he wants to do. I've heard that it was related to the forbidden territories. Those people are all insane. They don't have simplistic views like we do. We'll probably hear a lot about it. Yes, we can only wait. Mu Shanzi has been discreet for many years. I've heard that he was at the very top of the Xingdi layer. I wonder whether it's true or not. In the 10,000 Dusk Mountains, there are only a few cultivators who have reached the very top of the Xingdi layer. Lin Feng heard what people were saying. He had incredible hearing and his perceptions were acute. At such a cultivation level, people had incredible senses. It seems that Mu Shanzi is famous in the 10,000 Dusk Mountains, thought Lin Feng. He heard many people talking about those who had reached the very top of the Xingdi layer. Such people had the potential to become saints, and if they didn't die, it usually happened. Therefore, the number of cultivators of the very top of the Xingdi layer didn't increase with time in the world. Lin Feng had already gathered information about this place. He directly flew to the Mushan clan. Dragons were very famous for being strong, but they were also extremely fast. They were just slower than the most terrifying great oriental greenfinch rocks. "We're here," mused Lin Feng, gazing into the distance. There was a celestial lake, its waters calm, some leaves floating on the surface. The place was very beautiful. In the middle of the lake were some lofty buildings, the residences of the Mushan clan. "It's all golden. The Mushan clan looks new, and floating above a lake is quite beautiful," murmured Lin Feng as they descended from the sky. "A dragon." At that moment, many people looked at Lin Feng flying towards the lake. A middle-aged man wearing blue robe released lightning when he saw the dragon, and sharp electrical lights appeared in his eyes. At the same time, on another side, there was a beautiful woman whose golden robe was fluttering in the wind. When she saw the dragon, her eyes started glowing too. She didn't look ordinary at all. The air hummed. The two people moved to intercept Lin Feng. After a short time, Alma arrived above the surface of the lake. Because he was flapping his wings, gigantic waves appeared on the surface of the water. Lin Feng smiled at the two people. "A demon dragon, a young man riding a demon dragon?" The middle-aged man in the blue robe was startled. In the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds, there were even fewer dragon riders than cultivators of the top of the Xingdi layer. Who would dare steal dragons from the supreme animal world to ride them? If someone rode a dragon, it meant that the dragon had agreed to it. Recently, a young man riding a dragon had become a bit famous. "You're Daimon from the World Clan?" said the middle-aged man in the blue robe. The World Clan had come back to the imperial court of the continent of the Nine Clouds and provoked the Fire Shrine. Daimon had defeated Huashang and Qianghaiya. He was famous now. Many people paid attention to what happened to the shrines, including the Fire Shrine, so they knew about Daimon. So now Lin Feng had become a little bit famous. He was considered as a genius by ordinary people, but not by extremely strong cultivators, so he was just a little bit famous. He had just started standing out. Lin Feng was surprised that Mu Shanzi had invited him, but he had decided to accept the invitation. This was normal. Lin Feng nodded. The middle-aged man said, "You must be extraordinary for a demon dragon to let you ride him. But you can compete with Qianghaiya from the Fire Shrine. That is rare. You escaped, of course. You might not be as strong as him, but that would be normal." The middle-aged man sounded composed. He didn't flatter Lin Feng, but he didn't denigrate him either. At such cultivation levels, people were also less extroverted and more reserved. They didn't admire or denigrate people. They just stated facts. Denigrating people was pointless. They cared about themselves first. Lin Feng didn't draw their attention because he was Lin Feng, but because he was riding a dragon. "You must Lan Gu from the Thunder Shrine," said the woman, smiling at the middle-aged man. "Celestial Sound Shrine, Hua Qianyu," said Lan Gu looking at the woman calmly. "I've heard that you could release millions of sound waves. I'm happy to meet you." "Brother Lan Gu, you're flattering me. My soundwave techniques aren't that great." "I am unworthy of your praises," replied Hua Qianyu. Then she looked at Almo and smiled. "That little dragon is so cute and so young. He's already so strong." Alma's gigantic eyes twinkled and he roared, making the sky shake. Hua Qianyu released a dragon chant soundwave to counter it, then stepped backwards and smiled. "Let's not perturb the tranquility of the lake. Let's head to the Mushan clan." The dragon chant was like a soundwave technique, and it wasn't weaker than Alma's dragon roar, murmured Lin Feng, glancing at her. The Celestial Sound Shrine was a shrine. Lan Gu turned around and flew in the direction of the Mushan clan. Alma roared and flew above the lake after them. When they entered the Mushan clan, there were some people ready to welcome the guests. Someone showed Lin Feng and the others rooms for their stay. These guest rooms were magnificent. Lin Feng was early, only a dozen people had arrived. But without exception, Those people were from wealthy groups. Their fighting abilities were all extraordinary. The Mushan clan had prepared residences halfway up the mountains. They could see the lake from the top. It was an incredible place. Lin Feng laid down in the grass of the mountain and gazed into the distance. A few other people were there too. They all enjoyed the environment. Daimon, someone called out at that moment. Lin Feng's eyes glittered. He was still lying down on the grass and he smiled. He had been invited too. I wouldn't have thought we'd meet again so soon, said Qiong Haiya when he saw Lin Feng. He also smiled, pleasantly surprised. I told you, said Lin Feng smiling. He turned his head and looked at Qiong Haiya. They both looked enthusiastic. Daimon had used the fire shrine as a stepping stone to become famous, and now Mushan Zi had invited them both there. Chapter 23-22. With admiration, Qiong Haiya walked up to him and grinned. Perfect, as you said. Are you the only one from the World Clan who's been invited? The World Clan is tiny. I'm the only one who received the invitation letter. The World Clan can't be compared with the Fire Shrine, Lin Feng smiled. Qiong Haiya's smile stiffened a bit. The members of the World Clan had broken their shield. He understood what Lin Feng meant. He was making fun of them. At that moment, someone landed next to Qiong Haiya. That person was taller than Qiong Haiya and looked a bit plump. He looked calm and unruffled, like someone who could never get angry. When he was around, people felt a bit pressured. Qiong Haiya didn't give people that kind of impression. People around smiled when they saw him. Apart from Qiong Haiya, Mushan Zi had also invited that guy. It seemed that Mushan Zi had great plans, or he wouldn't have invited such people. Qiong Jiutian, this guy's family name was also Qiong. He was of the same generation as Qiong Haiya, and he was already a cultivator of the very top of the Xingdi layer, much stronger than Qiong Haiya. The World Clan has been silent for such a long time and now they came back with such geniuses. Not bad. I hope you won't disappoint anyone, said Qiong Jiutian to Lin Feng calmly. He sounded proud and arrogant. He had been a cultivator of the very top of the Xingdi layer for many years already. One more step, one last step, and he'd become a saint. Lin Feng stood up slowly and looked at Qiong Jiutian calmly. He could sense that Qiong Jiutian was threatening him. He seemed much more powerful than Qiong Haiya. He even looked stronger than the middle-aged man in blue clothes. However, Lin Feng was Daimon from the World Clan now, and his social status was every bit as high as these people. He took a step forwards and smiled in anticipation. You think a lot. When Qiong Jiutian heard Lin Feng's reply, he remained calm, smiled, turned around, and left. Qiong Haiya groaned in an ice-cold way and said, "We can't wait to see." He also departed. Regarding what he couldn't wait to see, he was probably the only one who knew. But people understood that he couldn't wait to see bad things happen to Lin Feng. During the following days, Mushan Zi didn't show up. More and more people arrived in the Mushan clan. 20-some people had already gathered there. They were all extremely strong. Of course, Mushan Zi had invited many other people, but many of them didn't have time to arrive so early and wait around. At such cultivation levels, people had responsibilities and many things to do. Many people wouldn't even have the time to come to the Mushan clan at all. The deadline Mushan Zi had given to the people he had invited to come had arrived. The people were summoned to a hall. Someone smiled and said, "Mushan Zi will probably arrive soon. He's here already. I wonder what he wants to tell us. The distance to the supreme animal world. Since he came back, it must be very important," mused others. Lin Feng listened to them talking. He understood that Mushan Zi wasn't always in the Mushan clan. Apparently, he had spent time in the supreme animal world these last few days. Mushan Zi went to the supreme animal world to practice, yet he heard of me. I wonder whether Mushan Zi wanted me to come, or was it the Mushan clan? That guy must be an expert at communication. Even when he's traveling, he doesn't forget his other responsibilities, mused Lin Feng. An old man appeared and descended from the sky. He smiled at everybody and said, "Everybody, you've been waiting for a long time. The young master is back. He's taking a bath and changing clothes. We organized a welcome dinner. Please follow me." Silhouettes flickered. People moving at impressive speed appeared in Lin Feng's field of vision. That guy is back and went to take a shower and change clothes. He's like a chick, said someone rudely. That guy looked extremely strong and rude. He was wearing big pants and was barebacked. He had huge muscles, so pumped up it seemed they were about to explode. His hand was over his shoulder, carrying a gigantic hammer. Such people were difficult to forget after a single glance. What? Why are you so impatient? Do you think everybody's rude like you? Being clean is respectful for people you meet, said another middle-aged man coldly. He looked brutal and wild with a big beard. He looked dignified and majestic. Shut up, swore a young man, extremely tall with a bestial presence. His hands were in the sleeves of his cyan clothes, and pale lights surrounded him. He actually looked rather handsome. The two people who had just talked looked at the young man coldly and said, "Little beast, be polite to your elders. When I became famous, you weren't even born yet," said the wild middle-aged man. The beast turned around and said coldly, "Situ, are you saying you're already rotten and useless?" Situ groaned coldly and smiled back. The younger generations will surpass us in time. Young people are getting more and more arrogant. It's not time to talk shit and argue, otherwise use your strength to fight, said the one wearing big pants, but he was gloating over another person's misfortune. Situ smiled, showing his teeth. Don't worry, there will be opportunities. Let's go and see what Mu Shanzi wants to tell us, suggested someone wearing a black cloak. These people looked simple, but actually they all had incredible stories. They had all received the invitation letter, which proved they were terrifyingly strong. In front of younger people, they usually remained silent. They were people of few words. One glance and they could terrify younger folk. Everybody followed the old man and arrived at a palace. In front of them was a young man with the elegant demeanor of a gentleman. He smiled at the crowd and said, "Everybody, thank you for accepting my invitation. I feel moved." Don't be shameless, Mu Shanzi. You know that we didn't come just because of your invitation letter. Indeed. We have no time to waste. The crowd didn't give face to Mu Shanzi, but he didn't seem to mind. He just smiled and said, "All right, stop criticizing me, everybody. Come in, and let's discuss business." "All right," agreed the crowd. They followed Mu Shanzi to the main palace and sat down on two sides of a long table. They all looked at Mu Shanzi. Situ spoke up aggressively, "Mu Shanzi, will you talk now?" "Situ, you haven't changed," Mu Shanzi smiled. He looked at the crowd and said, "Everybody, you know that I just came back from the supreme animal world. I went there to practice cultivation, but I had some interesting experiences." "What?" asked the one who looked like a beast. Chu Chunqiu, who finished third at the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds back in the days, has spent much time in Ganges time. Now, he has left Ganges time and he has gone to the supreme ancient pit of hell alone. You know that, right? Said Mu Shanzi. Yes, has Chu Chunqiu found anything in particular? Asked Cheong Jiutian. His eyes glittered. If I tell you that he's a sympathizer to the supreme ancient demons, and that is the reason why he went to the supreme ancient pit of hell, would you believe me? Mu Shanzi asked calmly. The crowd was astonished. Really? I've met Chu Chunqiu. Even though he ranked third at the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, he's extremely strong. We met just outside of the supreme ancient pit of hell. He's very brave, I admire him. Even though I don't know whether Lin Feng and Kong Ming, who respectively ranked first and second at the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, are stronger than him or not, I know that Chu Chunqiu is extremely strong, said Mu Shanzi calmly. Everybody now thought even higher of those who had finished at the top of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Mu Shanzi had acknowledged Chu Chunqiu. Lin Feng is also incredible. He humiliated the Snow Clan. The Fire Shrine has been chasing him for a very long time and they always fail. I just don't know where he is now, said the one who had big pants. Cheong Haiya frowned. Lin Feng, the Fire Shrine hated him. Actually, many people from the shrines were there. They had been chasing the top 10 cultivators of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds for a long time, including Lin Feng and Chu Chunqiu. But it didn't mean they didn't admire them, too. There was nothing wrong with admiring enemies. Chapter 23:23, Exploring the Mystery of the Forbidden Territories. Cheong Jiao Tian didn't want to talk about Lin Feng and said, Mu Shanzi, have you ever seen the supreme ancient demon yourself? Yes, with my own eyes, nodded Mu Shanzi. According to legends, in the supreme ancient pit of hell there are many supreme ancient demons, but you can only learn that if you enter the supreme ancient pit of hell. It's difficult to come out alive. Seeing one was incredible, and Chu Chun Chiu followed him. So you invited us to come, said Cheong Jiao Tian staring at Mu Shanzi. I want to explore the mystery of the supreme ancient pit of hell, said Mu Shanzi. Everybody's heart started pounding. People frowned. Explore the mystery of a deadly forbidden territory? How scary and audacious. At that moment, the one who looked like a beast said, What is the demon like? Is there anything you forgot to tell us, Mu Shanzi? Supreme ancient demons are extremely strong. The one I've seen only had one side of his body, one arm, one leg, one eye, even his brain was cut into two. But with his hand he can drain people's vitality and blood, and easily kill them. At the same cultivation level, people cannot withstand a single attack from him. The supreme ancient demons have existed for a very long time. Nobody knows what there is inside. Don't you want to go and see? Mu Shanzi looked at the crowd. People's eyes glittered with curiosity. However, they knew that the forbidden territories were extremely dangerous. Apart from people who were extremely brave, not many people dared go there. Saint emperors usually didn't want to take such risks. Maybe some saints went there and explored the mysteries of the forbidden territories, but they didn't tell anyone because the others were not qualified to know details only known to insiders. Supreme ancient demons. Lin Feng's eyes gleamed. He had seen how terrifying the territories of the king of the 10,000 beasts were, so were those forbidden territories as menacing? Were there small worlds inside? Or ancient clans? The king of the 10,000 beasts territories were in purple clouds, and only famous in Long Night City. They were too far from the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, which was why the king of the 10,000 beasts managed to keep it secret. If the king of the 10,000 beasts territory was in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds, it would have been extremely famous. The crowd remained silent. They were all geniuses among geniuses. If they explored the mysteries of the forbidden territories with saints, it would be useless because they'd die first. They understood why Mu Shanzi hadn't invited any saints. They didn't belong to the same world. If saints wanted to explore the mystery of forbidden territories, they could do it with other saints. They really wanted to go and explore the mystery of the supreme ancient pit of hell, but they knew it was going to be very dangerous. Mu Shanzi, you didn't make us come straight to the supreme animal world, you made us come here first. It means that you prepared things here, right? I am willing to come and explore the mystery of the forbidden territory with you, but I need to get prepared too, said Hua Qianyu calmly. Everybody was probably going to agree. They were all really strong, and they had to use their full strength. They had to get ready first. They couldn't go into the forbidden territory without being prepared. Of course. Hua Qianyu, you deserve your incredible reputation. I'm happy you're coming, smiled Mu Shanzi. I'm coming too, said the strong man in big pants, smashing the table in front of him excitedly. If Qi Lianshan is going, I, Sidhu, won't refuse either, declared the middle-aged man, glancing at the strong man in big pants coldly. They were enough people to go. They didn't want to go alone, so it was perfect. I, Lan Gu, am coming too, everybody nodded. Chu Chun Chiu was brave. He had gone to the supreme ancient pit of hell alone. There were so many really strong cultivators, they had to accept. Even though it was going to be dangerous, it was probably going to be beneficial. Lin Feng looked at the crowd, his eyes glittering. He also wanted to go. I'm coming too, said Lin Feng. Cheong Haiya turned and looked at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng smiled coldly inside. Awesome. Since everybody wants to come, let's meet in the Black Phoenix Animal District on the periphery of the supreme ancient pit of hell. Everybody, give me your contact details. I'll contact you in time, said Mu Shanzi. They all came from different places, so meeting outside of the supreme ancient pit of hell was the best. Very good. Everybody nodded and gave Mu Shanzi their contact details. Lin Feng and Alma left shortly thereafter. Alma was very excited. He was going to take Lin Feng to the supreme animal world and show him around. He didn't know much about the supreme ancient pit of hell, however. Lin Feng was seated on Alma's back. He sensed someone was looking at him coldly. Lin Feng glanced over and saw Qiong Haiya. "See you in the supreme animal world," said Qiong Haiya coldly. Lin Feng smiled coldly on the inside. "Little boy, have you ever been to the Black Phoenix Animal District?" asked Lin Feng to Alma. "No, but I've heard about it. There are many black phoenixes there. In the ancient times, they kept fighting against humans, and nobody managed to oppress them. But one day, they faced a calamity and now they aren't as strong as before. They kept the name Phoenix even though they're not pure anymore." "I see. I wonder what Chu Chunqiu went through in the supreme ancient pit of hell," Lin Feng murmured to himself. Chu Chunqiu was a very dangerous cultivator. He had tried to kill Lang Yi and Ho Qing Lin before, and he also wanted to absorb Lin Feng's will. How strong had he become? The news that Mu Shanzi had invited many extremely strong cultivators to go to the supreme ancient pit of hell with him spread quickly. In spite of all the legends which rendered ordinary people terror-stricken, Mu Shanzi and the geniuses were going to go, proving their bravery. Back in the Fortune Shrine, Lin Feng's clone told the diviner about the trip. The diviner smiled and said, "Fewer and fewer people explore the mystery of the forbidden territories. People who go sometimes don't come back, or when they do, they don't talk about it. But everybody knows the forbidden territories are terrifying. You had no reason to refuse." Good. Indeed, for such people, terrifying wasn't a concept they took seriously. "Just be careful," said the diviner. He had no reason to prevent Lin Feng from going. Forbidden people were destined to have extraordinary lives, anyway. Those places were called forbidden territories, and Lin Feng was a forbidden person. How could a forbidden person be afraid of a forbidden territory? Mu Shanzi, Qiong Jiutian, Situ, and the others going were all fearsome names. Many people were excited. It was the most impressive group of people to go to the forbidden territories in 1,000 years. A bunch of incredible geniuses were going to gather in the supreme ancient pit of hell. Those geniuses were soon on their way, including Lin Feng. The supreme animal world was an isolated world in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. It was a holy place for animals and was in the northern part of the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. Lin Feng had received directions from the Fortune Shrine. After going through a few teleportation portals, Lin Feng arrived in front of a dark city, the entrance to the supreme animal world. Chapter 23-24 Alma's special power. Even though the supreme animal world and the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds were two different worlds, people could cross the border freely. Some people wanted to trade with the animals of the supreme animal world, but they did it in the dark because some people or animals didn't have positive opinions about it. Therefore, some deadly battles had also happened in that dark city. The people who were there were only stronger, and also bloodthirsty, ferocious, and courageous. Of course, they paid attention to who they offended. Otherwise, the supreme animal world could take revenge, and a single person couldn't compete with the supreme animal world alone. Humans hunted beasts, and beasts ate human beings. In the supreme animal world, there were human beings everywhere, but it was dangerous for them. Beasts could kill them anytime, it was their land. Lin Feng and Alma teleported themselves from the dark city to the supreme animal world. They arrived in a dark forest with beasts everywhere. "What a thick and rich bestial qi," murmured Lin Feng, smelling the qi. "They hate humans, so they stay in this area because humans usually arrive here from the dark city. When they see humans, they try to kill them," explained Alma. Lin Feng nodded. Alma then flapped his wings and glanced around. Alma roared out, and some beasts in the forest stopped. Some of them lowered their heads. For them, dragons were like kings. They held them in awe and veneration. Alma led, and nothing happened to them along the way. They flew in the direction of the Black Phoenix Animal District. 20 days later, Lin Feng saw an ancient animal district. There were gigantic lofty animal buildings. It was completely different from the king of the 10,000 beasts world. The qi here was more brutal. It was also, obviously, completely different from the human world. Many people raised their heads when they saw a dragon in the sky. A dragon had shown up in the Black Phoenix's territory. And that dragon had a human being on his back, even worse. In a celestial palace on the top of a gigantic mountain, someone gazed into the distance and saw Alma. That person's eyes glittered coldly. That dragon has no dignity. Lin Feng and Alma continued along. Lin Feng sensed someone watching him. He glanced at the celestial palace in the distance and saw a silhouette, a person wearing a golden and purple tiger robe. He looked like an ancient animal king, dignified and majestic. He was staring at Alma. "Get the hell down," shouted the man furiously. Such a terrifying roar could destroy an ordinary human's internal organs. Lin Feng sensed heavy sound waves and saw many illusionary tigers. Roar of the red tigers, it's king of the red tigers. That roar alarmed countless monsters in the area. They looked up to the palace in the sky, and they saw the leader of the red tiger's palace standing there. He wasn't happy to see Alma and that human. Alma paused. The king said in a cold and detached way, "You're from the dragon clan, and you let a human ride you. Shame on you, you're a disgrace to the dragon clan. Since you're shameless, I'll use you as a means of transportation. You'll help me protect the palace." Alma looked at him coldly and spat out some flames. His gigantic eyes were filled with murder. "Old tiger," said Lin Feng to the king of the red tigers. The king was furious. "Humph." The king of the red tigers stared at Lin Feng and said, "Piss off now. Give me the dragon." "Stupid and insolent animal," retorted Lin Feng coldly. The king of the red tigers was infuriated. He rose up into the air and released bestial qi in a wave of power. Lin Feng and Alma sensed oppressive energies around them. "I'll go and kill that animal," Alma said to Lin Feng. "No. He's not weak. We can't win against him," said Lin Feng. "Don't worry, father, leave it to me," said Alma, flying towards the tiger. Lin Feng was startled and looked at Alma. He actually didn't know how strong Alma was. He was a dragon, he probably had some special powers. The king wouldn't dare kill him, anyway. Lin Feng was the one in danger. "Awesome, I'll see how strong a dragon can be," spat the king of the red tigers coldly. He flashed forwards and released mighty oppressive energies. He raised his fist, but it felt like a mountain had appeared. Alma wasn't afraid. His claws appeared, and his skin was like armor. The collision was impressive and loud as thunder. Alma streaked across the sky, wounds appearing on his arms, a terrifyingly heavy strength penetrating into his body. He coughed up blood. The king of the red tigers understood earth strength. His attacks were extremely heavy. He was a king of the earth. The king of the red tigers frowned. He hadn't expected Alma to be strong enough to compete with him. He roared and moved faster than the eye. The word king appeared above his face. Several tiger kings appeared around Alma and converged on him. Alma released a terrifying dark demon qi. His eyes turned pitch black. People around heard dragon chants. Alma turned into several dragons and shot towards the different tiger kings. The demon dragons crashed into the tiger kings, roaring triumphantly. The king of the red tigers waved his hands and the tiger kings roared furiously. Their roars could destroy people's souls. It seems like the king of the red tigers' roars have reached the peak of perfection. His second Tao is already almost at the maximum level, exclaimed the crowd watching below. The king of the red tigers was a leader in that region, and all this wasn't surprising. He was extremely strong. The demon dragon seemed like it was going to get crushed. Only one demon dragon was left, and he was struggling. At that moment, the atmosphere suddenly became dark. Demon energies filled the air. A dragon shadow appeared and blotted out the sky. Godly Dragon Clan's ability. The beasts in the distance frowned. The strongest dragons had a special ability which made their Tao much more powerful. The king of the red tigers raised his head. As expected, the dragon was extremely strong, and he could use the special ability of the dragon clan. The atmosphere was dark and looked apocalyptic. Lin Feng initially wanted to get involved, but when he saw that, he stopped, his eyes twinkling. The Tiger King was extremely strong and controlled earth strength. He also had some sound attacks, so he understood 2 types of Dao. But Ao was talented and his attacks were explosive. The dragons spat out energies which turned into dark demon strength. Dragons surrounded the tigers, which turned black. "Kill him," shouted Alma. Instantly, the Tiger Kings were crushed and destroyed by the demon energies. At the same time, a terrifying demon strength shot towards the King of the Red Tigers and surrounded him. The King of the Red Tigers' face stiffened. He was slowly turning dark as well. "Piss off," shouted the King of the Red Tigers furiously. Suddenly, he had 3 heads and 6 arms. All the heads roared furiously. He started flying towards the gigantic dragon in the sky. Quickly, the gigantic dragon opened his mouth and swallowed the king. When the crowd saw that, they were astonished. Had the demon dragon absorbed the gigantic tiger? Roaring sounds spread in the air, and the King of the Red Tigers reappeared and shot away. His body had turned black and he looked angry. "You're a weakling, and you think I'll become a guard in your palace?" shouted Alma icily. The King of the Red Tigers roared angrily in response. Gigantic pitch-black swords appeared and streaked across the sky. In the twinkling of an eye, the celestial palace was riddled with gaping wounds. The King of the Red Tigers shouted furiously, "How dare you attack my palace? Get ready to be punished." The King of the Red Tigers left. The crowd in the distance was astonished. The King of the Red Tigers had stopped fighting. Was he going to ask the other leaders to come and help him? Chapter 23-25. Negligence. Alma was staring after his opponent. His gigantic eyes were filled with cold lights. He overestimated himself. Then he turned around and moved back to Lin Feng. He looked quite satisfied and smiled broadly. "Father, what did you think?" "Not bad. Is that your special ability? You can turn people into demons?" "Excellent," said Lin Feng, petting Alma's head and smiling. "Yes, it's my special ability. It keeps growing more and more powerful. I can absorb living beings and make them turn into demons." Alma smiled. Lin Feng tapped his back. He looked like a little child when he was with Lin Feng. To the crowd in the distance, seeing a terrifyingly strong dragon act like a child was astonishing. "Do you all have different abilities in the Dragon Clan?" asked Lin Feng. He was curious. "Some people don't. It depends on your natural abilities." "I see." Lin Feng nodded. The two continued forwards and entered the Black Phoenix Animal District. Mu Shanzi still hadn't contacted them and few people, or maybe none, had arrived yet. Lin Feng wasn't in a rush, though. He chose a place to live and practice cultivation. Lin Feng hated wasting time. He was productive every day. He forced himself to make full use of his time to become stronger. But Alma wasn't like that. He was a beast. When he was abroad, he enjoyed his time. In the supreme animal world, there were beasts everywhere. It was his home territory. He felt at home. At that moment, there was a human being on Alma's back, but it was not Lin Feng. It was a very beautiful woman. "Little boy, before you were even born, I was with Lin Feng already. I'm like a big sister or an auntie for you. Show me around and stop complaining," said Xiaoya with smile. She had never ridden a dragon. It was an awesome feeling. "So what? You're not my dad's sister," said Alma. He wasn't happy. He continued flying in the clouds. When Xiaoya had enough, they landed on the ground. Xiaoya wasn't worried with Alma there. He was extremely strong. "Let's have something to eat." Alma turned into a human being again and took Xiaoya to a bestial pavilion. There were many things to drink and eat there, but when Xiaoya saw the food, she felt like vomiting. There was bleeding raw meat everywhere. "Let's leave," said Xiaoya, putting her hand over her mouth and nose. The smell of the meat was horrible too. "I've heard that many people from the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds were going to come here," said someone at that moment. It was a woman in black clothes. Xiaoya stopped and sat down. The woman continued, The supreme ancient pit of hell is one of the forbidden territories. Those humans will definitely die there. I hope Lin Feng isn't going to the supreme ancient pit of hell, whispered Xiaoya to Alma. Alma looked at her and said, he is. Will it be dangerous? Asked Xiaoya. She was extremely worried. Don't worry. How could anything happen to my father? Said Alma. He had faith in Lin Feng. The woman looked at him sharply. A dragon? The woman was stunned when she saw Alma and realized he was a dragon. Black Phoenix. Alma looked at her and realized she was a black phoenix. The woman looked at him darkly and said, you guys are going to the supreme ancient pit of hell to die? The Phoenix clan is doomed. They are just a feudal clan now. You're just lucky to be alive. You don't dare go to the supreme ancient pit of hell, and you make fun of people who are brave enough to go there, retorted Alma coldly. Right? You're a coward and you make fun of people who are brave. You're ridiculous, said a middle-aged man in blue clothes biting into a big piece of raw meat. Alma looked at him and said, you arrived too. They had seen each other in the Mu Shan clan. Yes. Since you're here, I presume Daimon is here too. But who's that girl? Even though Daimon won't have any problem in the supreme ancient pit of hell, I don't think he should bring that girl. It would be dangerous for her, said Lan Gu, looking at Xiaoya. Xiaoya looked so cute and naive. Lan Gu liked her. Daimon knows that, replied Alma. Lan Gu didn't say anything else. At that moment, he slowly turned around and looked at someone who didn't say anything. That person was wearing a black cloak and his head was lowered. It was difficult to see his face. He had no chi at all either. Who are you? Asked Lan Gu indifferently. That guy in black clothes looked dangerous. He didn't reply, continuing to eat as if he hadn't heard anything. Lan Gu released chi which filled the air. Lightning appeared around him and shot towards that person. That person raised his hand, and the thunders crashed into his palm. The crowd thought he was going to explode, but he didn't. The lightning gradually disappeared. Lan Gu looked at him sharply. You're extremely strong, Your Excellency. I want to know who you are even more. Lan Gu released more and more lightning chi in a surge of power. The person slowly raised his head. He had pitch-black eyes. One glance and Lan Gu had the impression he was in hell. Lan Gu slowly stood up. He was surrounded by lightning, and the pavilion was torn open. He threw himself at the other man. The cultivator in black clothes released bloodlights. The lightning and bloodlights collided. The cultivator in black clothes moved away. He didn't want to stay there. Cut! Lan Gu released lightning to surround the cultivator. The crowd around them couldn't open their eyes. It was so blinding. The cultivator in black clothes flitted backwards. His black robe had just been ripped apart by the lightning. He glanced at Lan Gu as the other beasts around shivered. What was going on? Half of his head was demoniac and the other half was bestial. Blood lights appeared in the sky, and the astonished crowd watched the cultivator leave. Someone from the supreme ancient pit of hell? Shouted Lan Gu. He chased after the cultivator. Alma was astonished too. Was that truly someone from the supreme ancient pit of hell? Both of them suddenly chased after that cultivator. Xiaoya shouted, "You bastard!" Xiaoya looked at Alma. He had forgotten her there. She felt unsafe. She couldn't compete with all the beasts there. "Little girl, since you're alone here, you should come to my house," said the woman in black clothes with a smile. Xiaoya's face stiffened. "I have things to do." "Thank you, sister." "It's all right, follow me. When your dragon friend comes back, I'll tell him you are there," said the woman smiling. Xiaoya was scared, but she forced herself to smile and replied, "Sister, I'll wait for my brother to come back. He's extremely strong." "Is that so? As strong as King Phoenix?" asked the woman smiling. She sounded much colder and asked, "Are you coming or not?" Dark lights surrounded Xiaoya. She instantly stopped smiling and said, "All right, I'll come to your house, sister." "Good girl," declared the smiling woman. Her chi disappeared, and she took Xiaoya away. "Sister, where's your house?" asked Xiaoya, trying to force herself to smile. "And what will we do there?" Hi, good little girl. I want your dragon friend to give me some dragon blood. You will help me do that." "Sister, you just had to tell me and I would have asked." However, the woman shook her head and said, "No. We need the blood of a powerful dragon. Your dragon friend won't necessarily accept, even if you're with us." Chapter 23-26. The Grave of Black Phoenix Valley. Longu and Alma came back. They didn't continue chasing the mysterious cultivator in black clothes. He was too fast. "You're from the Dragon Clan. Have you heard of such monsters before?" Longu asked Alma. He didn't know much about the supreme animal world. No, he looked even more terrifying than a beast. "What a strange face, too," said Alma. He couldn't forget that face. Alma suddenly glanced around and realized Xiaoya had disappeared. He shouted, "Where's my little sister?" Someone laughed. Alma turned around and looked at a woman in black clothes. He said coldly, "You took her?" "We want some godly dragon blood, a bowl," the woman to Alma said casually. Alma's face stiffened and he shouted furiously, "Insolent! You could have asked me if you wanted dragon blood. I would have given you some." "I want godly dragon blood," said the woman. Alma frowned, his face hard. He cursed, "You don't have the godly blood of your ancestors, and now you dare ask some from dragons. How shameless! You want the Dragon Clan to destroy you. You can refuse. We'll sacrifice the little human girl then. If we do, you can't blame us," said the woman. Longu said, "I've heard that the Black Phoenixes are insolent. There is nothing they don't dare. They are known for such practices." "You're a human, shut your filthy mouth," said the woman, staring at Longu coldly. Dark chi filled the air and surrounded him. She said to Alma, "You don't have much time to think. We took the girl to the grave of Black Phoenix Valley. If you take too much time, we'll offer her as sacrifice to our ancestors." "I'll give some to you," said Alma. He pulled a long face. Xiaoya was Lin Feng's little sister. He had asked him to take care of her, and now he had been too careless and had left her alone for a few minutes. He had to bear the responsibility for that. He was furious. Longu said, "Godly dragon blood is what makes you dragons talented. If dragons lose godly blood, it can ruin their cultivation." "I know," said Alma raising his hands, "but I have no choice for my dad." Longu was astonished. The person he called dad was probably Daimon from the World Clan. He was astonished, but understood their relationship a little bit better. The woman in black clothes stood up and looked impatient. She wanted the blood as quickly as possible. A silhouette appeared in the distance and closed on them as fast as lightning. "Alma, stop," someone shouted. Alma stopped moving. He looked happy and said, "Dad?" The woman in black clothes moved back and opened her wings. An ice-cold sword moved towards the woman. The sword crashed into her third eye. She was staring at the silhouette. She couldn't believe it. This person dared try and kill her without saying anything. The woman in black clothes suddenly exploded. The atmosphere was filled with a terrifying sword chi. The crowd around was astonished and shaking. "Let's go the grave of Black Phoenix Valley," said Lin Feng. Instantly, Alma roared and turned back into a gigantic black dragon. He rose up in the air, Lin Feng on his back. Longu jumped onto him. The other woman in black clothes who had captured Xiaoya had arrived at the valley. It was very cold there. Xiaoya was shuddering because of the chill and said, "Sister, it's so cold here." "Where are we?" "It's the grave of the Black Phoenix. When black phoenixes are not entirely dead, we put their threads of soul here. They can then absorb strength, human or bestial vitality chi. It helps them become stronger again," said the woman. "Why did you take me here then, sister?" said Xiaoya. She had cold sweats and was terrified. She kept contacting Lin Feng with her jade talisman. The woman in black clothes glanced at the talisman on her neck. She grabbed it and broke it apart. She smiled and said, "Little sister, don't do such things. Your dragon brother is coming. When he gives us blood, we'll take you to an ancestor in the valley." "Sister, why not release me after? We'll see if your dragon brother can save you," said the woman in black clothes, laughing sinisterly. However, at that moment, her face changed drastically. She became deathly pale. She was dead? "You want to die," said the woman in black clothes, suddenly releasing dark intent. She grabbed Xiaoya again and continued flying. Xiaoya raised her head. She wanted to leave, but she couldn't, and the phoenix hit her with her gigantic pitch-black wings. She coughed blood and fell from the sky. A black silhouette took her away. The chi around her was ice-cold, formed by black phoenix shadows. They looked like death gods. Everything in the valley smelled like death. "Brother," said Xiaoya. She landed on the ground, but the shadows continued taking her away. Another jade talisman appeared in her hands and broke. Lights appeared around her, gigantic statues appeared and protected her. The shadows crashed onto the protectors. Xiaoya burst into tears. She took out many jade talismans and deployment talismans. Lin Feng had made them for her so that she could use them when she was in danger. She prayed Lin Feng would arrive soon. At that moment, Lin Feng was on Alma's back with Lan Ge. Lin Feng used his godly awareness to inspect the area. He looked dreadfully grim. His eyes were filled with murder. He said, "Alma, hurry up." "Yes, father," said Alma. He looked roared out with anger. Dark lights flashed around him. Some blood strength surrounded him and allowed him to fly even faster. How fast? Lan Ge was astonished. The dragons were truly extraordinarily talented. How incredible! Qi filled the air. Lan Ge looked at Daimon. He had released soul strength and a sharp qi which seemed like it could split apart the whole sky. A sharp sword emerged from his body and streaked across the sky. Daimon's soul was incredible. He even left his body with his soul. How strong! His soul makes him look like a god. It has fused together with the earth and the sky, but even worse, it seems like he can control the earth and the sky with his soul, like a god. Thought Lan Ge when he sensed the qi. He was astonished and stunned, and the energies surged out faster than Alma, amazingly. The grave of Black Phoenix Valley was in the depths of Black Phoenix. Swords streaked across the sky of Black Phoenix. Many people raised their heads and frowned. A strong cultivator's soul was flying in the sky of their territory. Someone shouted furiously, "Who's that? Stop him!" That person's soul strength was attacked and destroyed, but the swords continued flying in the direction of the valley. Xiaoya had used almost all her jade talismans and deployment talismans. She was terrified. Was she going to die? The Black Phoenix was screeching and clawing at her defenses. It could eat her in one bite. "Brother, in the future, I won't be able to stay with you anymore. Grandpa, I hope you'll become a peerless cultivator. Take good care of yourself," whispered Xiaoya, smiling sadly and closing her eyes. She broke the last of the talismans she had, still crying. Was she going to die? Xiaoya sensed destructive energies all around her. She wasn't dead yet. She opened her eyes and saw swords spinning all around her, protecting her. "Brother, is that you?" Xiaoya exclaimed. She recognized that qi. One sword caressed her face. "What a warm qi." She smiled widely and said, "I knew that you could protect me, brother." Chapter 23-27. Danger in the Grave Valley. In the Black Phoenix clan, strong cultivators rose up into the air and flew towards the grave of Black Phoenix Valley angrily. The woman who had kidnapped Xiaoya appeared in the sky, her eyes glittering icily. What was going on? Whose soul had turned into a sword? She continued flying in the direction of the Grave Valley. At that moment, in the Grave Valley, many strong cultivators appeared. The members of the Black Phoenix clan were in the sky. They didn't dare go into the valley easily. Their ancestors rested in peace there. They couldn't disturb them while they were practiced cultivation to return to life. "Who dares offend us?" said an old man at that moment. He looked furious. The woman in black clothes appeared in front of him and said, "Elder, there's a human female in the valley. She had a dragon friend. I kidnapped her because I wanted some godly dragon blood. I didn't think I could fail. You take initiatives which could cause trouble for all of us. Go into the valley now and solve the issue," said the elder coldly. The woman's face turned deathly pale. "Elder, I don't want to." She looked terrified. "You caused trouble, so you must bear the responsibility. Go in now," said the old man. The woman's face was even paler. That was the place where their ancestors rested. If anyone went inside, It was as a sacrifice. Even though she was from the Black Phoenix clan, there was no exception. Even if the members of the Black Phoenix clan went in, they were used as sacrifices and died. But she had no choice. She slowly headed the valley. She soon saw some illusionary black phoenixes around Xiaoya, but there were swords which protected her and didn't let the souls get close to her. The woman in black clothes moved, her wings blotting out the sky. She released bestial qi and spat out dark flames. Some of the shining swords around Xiaoya cut apart the black fire explosively, filling the air with flames. A gigantic black phoenix moved toward Xiaoya. The swords around Xiaoya turned into a single gigantic sword. Sword qi filled the air. Dazzling golden lights streaked across the sky and collided with the black phoenix. "Phoenix attack!" shouted the black phoenix, colliding with the gigantic sword. The gigantic sword cracked, but her body trembled. At that moment, gigantic black phoenixes suddenly surrounded her, and her face turned deathly pale. "No! Ancestors! I'm from the Black Phoenix clan!" shouted the woman. However, the phoenix shadows absorbed her, biting away every single part of her body as black smoke surrounded her. The black vitality qi moved away from Xiaoya. She couldn't see the black phoenix anymore, but she felt ice cold. She saw many phoenix shadows above her head, staring at her coldly. They could swallow her in one bite at any time. "Bro!" shouted Xiaoya anxiously. The swords around her were getting weaker and weaker. The members of the Black Phoenix clan looked on furiously. People in the valley had to die. "When the ancestors become strong and come back, they'll manage the clan," said the elder solemnly. The eyes of the other phoenixes glittered. Could the ancestor come back and manage the clan? They suddenly heard dragon chants. Alma was hurtling forward, his qi surging around him. The members of the Black Phoenix clan who were in the sky above the valley suddenly gazed into the distance and shouted, "Stop!" The strong cultivators rose up in the air. Lin Feng released sword strength again, instantly cutting a few of them apart. "How insolent!" shouted a Saint Emperor furiously. He rose up higher in the air and turned into a gigantic phoenix. He opened his mouth and spat out flames while throwing himself at Lin Feng. Alma opened his mouth and breathed out black fire. The flames collided. At the same time, Lin Feng continued flying along. The black phoenix raised his claws. A human dared attack them? He wanted to die. Die! Lin Feng looked like a god. He raised his fist and smashed into his opponent. Bones shattered like breaking stones, blood splashed and then gushed out. Alma roared triumphantly as Lin Feng continued flying. The strong cultivators in the sky above the valley were astonished and furious. He came to cause trouble. Someone released their qi to stop him, but the elder said, "If he goes into the valley, the ancestors will take him." "Yes, elder," that person acknowledged, and they watched Alma fly past above the crowd. "Brother!" shouted Xiaoya when she saw him. The shadows started nibbling on her body though. "Piss off!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. He instantly disappeared. The sound waves from his voice rolled through the valley and destroyed the weaker shadows instantly. Phew! Lin Feng landed next to Xiaoya and took a deep breath. Xiaoya's face was deathly pale. She was very weak. Lin Feng took her in his arms and said, "Are you all right?" "I'm all right, brother," said Xiaoya. She was terrified, but she felt good in Lin Feng's arms. Lin Feng put her next to Alma and said, "Little boy, protect her." "Don't worry, none of them will touch Xiaoya," said Alma, coldly staring at the shadows. There were many phoenix shadows, all of them dead souls. In the cave in the valley, a black phoenix was becoming more and more distinct, condensing itself, lying there and absorbing vitality and qi. At that moment he opened his eyes. Lin Feng recalled his soul into his body and looked at the sky, releasing an ominous god Dao power which filled the air. The black phoenixes screeched and threw themselves at Lin Feng. A vortex appeared around him, forming a black hole to surround those black phoenix shadows. They struggled to break free. However, the vortex was becoming more and more powerful and unstoppable. The black phoenix shadows were drawn inside, and in the end disappeared. Lin Feng absorbed them and continued rising up in the air. More and more broken souls gathered towards Lin Feng, but he continued absorbing them. His absorbing strength is astonishing, murmured Lan Gu when he saw that, amazed. A black dot appeared in the distance and headed towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's face stiffened. Those two pitch-black eyes were terrifying. Not bad. Such a powerful blood qi, said the newcomer coldly. Lin Feng had the impression he had ended up in the abysses of hell. Many black phoenix shadows appeared around him, staring at Lin Feng pitilessly. Take him, said a voice coldly. All the black phoenixes moved towards Lin Feng. His godly awareness shone, and a web of lights appeared around him before he disappeared. He reappeared in front of a shadow and used the ancient holy punches technique, destroying the shadow in the blink of an eye. However, Lin Feng still felt unsafe. More and more black phoenixes were flying towards him. Die, said Lin Feng coldly. Death intent swept out and away, surrounding the black phoenixes. Another one fell dead from the sky. Lin Feng's qi was becoming more and more fearsome, but the black phoenixes had numbers. Lin Feng couldn't fight against them forever, could he? What kind of strength is that? After a long time, Lin Feng was still fighting against black phoenixes. His qi was floating around him. Thunder rumbled everywhere, the atmosphere was undulating restlessly. A pitch-black hand moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng released sword strength. However, the gigantic hand looked like an illusion. The sword pierced through nothing, and once the sword strength had passed, the hand became material again. Lin Feng retreated. Some black phoenixes attacked him from behind. He pulled a long face. No wonder the members of the Black Phoenix clan had let him come into the valley. It was so dangerous. Chapter 23-28, A Saint. The gigantic hand moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't have time to think, he had to act quickly. He released oppressive strength, before turning into a sharp sword which seemed like it could lacerate anything, and moved towards the black phoenixes. The pitch-black hand crashed onto the sword and made it tremble violently. The sword became distorted. The gigantic hand continued moving. Come here, said a loud voice. The gigantic sword was being drawn towards something. The gigantic sword that was Lin Feng appeared in a dark cave. In front of him were two gigantic pitch-black eyes. It was an ancient phoenix silhouette, dignified and majestic. In the outside world, Lan Gu and the others were still fighting against the black phoenixes. Lan Gu was astonished. A gigantic black phoenix had appeared in front of him. It looked like a phoenix god. The black phoenixes around seemed to be listening to it. We have to leave as quickly as possible. There are several black phoenix commanders around, I think, shouted Lan Gu. Alma gazed into the distance where Lin Feng had disappeared. Where's my father? Xiaoya looked extremely worried and clenched her fists. Lin Feng had disappeared. She hoped he was fine. We can't take risks. We have to do something. The people in the sky above aren't friendly either, said Lan Gu, moving in another direction. Lightning appeared all around him. Weaker black phoenix shadows couldn't get close to him. If they did, they were destroyed instantly. Alma shouted furiously and ate a few black phoenixes in one bite. Father! Let's go. You should leave, it'll be even more difficult for him if you stay here. You can't help him, shouted Lan Gu. Alma shouted furiously, No, help me take care of Sister Xiaoya, I'll go to my father. Thank you, said Alma, leaving Xiaoya to Lan Gu. Lan Gu was startled, but he admired Alma's determination. He nodded and said, All right, leave it to me. Lan Gu put his sleeves around Xiaoya, and Alma said, Thank you. Alma roared and flew into the depths of the valley. He rolled with his claws out and continued destroying the black phoenix shadows. What an insane dragon! Lan Gu turned his head and looked after Alma. The valley was gigantic. The one who had just attacked Lin Feng was a terrifying monster. Alma and Lan Gu had both sensed his energies. It was probably the soul of a phoenix king, a general commander. Piss off, shouted Lan Gu furiously. He spat out lightning and destroyed a black phoenix in front of him, continuing to fly. Blue lights appeared in his third eye and lightning continued ravaging his surroundings. In the cave, Lin Feng was facing the shadow. He still had the shape of a sword. What a powerful soul strength, thought Lin Feng, impressed. The terrifying shadow said, "You think you can dodge my saint's techniques? Do you think that's possible? Acknowledge allegiance to me now." His eyes looked even colder. The black phoenix flew towards the gigantic sword, trying to destroy it. Terrifying sword chi hummed. The sword seemed like it could cut anything. The black phoenixes all around exploded, and Lin Feng shouted defiantly, "Come!" The phoenix shadow became more distinct. He didn't look blurry anymore as he appeared in front of Lin Feng. This phoenix had many dimly discernible eyes. He frowned and stared at Lin Feng. He said coldly, "Where are we?" Lin Feng knew that terrifying creature was a thread of Saint's soul. Even though he didn't have the full power of a saint, he knew he couldn't fight against such a thing. At least, not in this world. "My world," retorted Lin Feng coldly. He condensed strength which surrounded them. In his own world, Lin Feng's strength was much more powerful than in the outside world. It was his world, he was a god here. "I can't use cosmic energies here." The black phoenix was astonished and shaken, staring at Lin Feng. How could a cultivator who had a lower level take him to his own world? "Even if it's your world, I'll still absorb your strength," said the black phoenix suddenly. He opened his mouth. Lin Feng's face froze. The many eyes of the black phoenix became brighter. This guy absorbed black phoenixes too. "Die!" Lin Feng waved his hands and released God's strength. A terrifying sword containing death strength streaked across the sky. Death surrounded his opponent's body. All the eyes of the terrifying black phoenix were staring at him with fearsome intensity. "Come in," demanded a voice. Lin Feng was surrounded by a dark strength. Many sharp beaks drove towards him. Lin Feng shifted away and cloned himself. All his clones flashed towards his opponent. At the same time, God's strength surged forth. A pair of eyes appeared on Lin Feng's real body. He punched out in front of him. The power of it instantly destroyed some beaks and pairs of eyes. "You can't escape." Millions of claws moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng released deployment lights to envelop his body. He saw the black phoenix's claws tear apart the curtain of lights. In return, a terrifying beast moved towards his opponent. He wanted to absorb the black phoenix. Lin Feng groaned coldly. A gigantic axe appeared above him, and he turned into a shadow as sharp weapon chi filled the air. The scattered phoenix souls broke apart. After entering Lin Feng's world, they couldn't do much. The curtain of lights broke down, sharp beaks continued moving towards him. "Great empty space technique," said Lin Feng. The opponents were moving chaotically in his world. He disappeared and reappeared. There were 9 dragons around him. They all opened their mouths and drew in all the black phoenixes. But the dark creature merely frowned, convinced that Lin Feng wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. "Where is he?" thought Lin Feng. His heart was pounding. All the pairs of eyes looked the same. Even though his opponent couldn't use cosmic energies there, it changed little. He could still absorb Lin Feng if he wanted, then chew him up and disintegrate him. 9 words, said Lin Feng. The 9 words of his incantation appeared and floated around him. Terrifying sharp swords appeared in his hands. A black fire moved towards his foe. Lin Feng also released his swords. Energies kept exploding and raging through the air. Die! The 2 swords turned into death smoke. Lin Feng arrived above his foe and cut him with sword strength. An incredible amount of hands promptly emerged from his opponent's body and grabbed him. The phoenix wanted to immobilize him and absorb him. How painful! Lin Feng had the impression he was being cut by sharp swords. His face paled. "You'll become a part of me," said the voice coldly. Lin Feng's eyes were suddenly filled with Demon King strength. Holy Spirit swords appeared around him and sliced apart the hands which held him. Lin Feng's body became even sharper. He was staring at his opponent's eyes. Many black phoenixes moved towards him. However, Lin Feng's god strength swept everything around him away. The god sword cut through every and an ancient path appeared. Lin Feng could take advantage of it. Chapter 23-29. Absorbing. Lin Feng was staring at his opponent's eyes. The opponent was also greedily staring at him. Lin Feng had the impression that his eyes were being lacerated by needles and blades. He closed his eyes and released a sharp cursing strength. A gigantic black hand moved towards Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng pressed forward with an indomitable will. He didn't flinch at all. He could cut away all the black phoenixes which prevented him from moving forwards. Lin Feng's sword finally arrived in front of his enemy's eyes, disappearing into them. Those eyes started bleeding. How is that possible? Lin Feng swore, a bit stunned. An incredible amount of hands surrounded him. Lin Feng had the impression he was slowly being absorbed into his enemy's body. His vitality and chi were being absorbed slowly, bit by bit. He could sense that his soul was trembling. "No!" shouted Lin Feng. How could his soul get destroyed in his own world? However, no matter what he did, it was useless. His soul was shaking, his chi was getting weaker and weaker. All those creatures are souls without bodies in the grave of Black Phoenix Valley, thought Lin Feng. In his spirit's world, his god's strength roared out with elemental power. "It's my world, I'm a god here. How come my strength can be absorbed?" thought Lin Feng. He was trying to push his connection to his own world to the next level. "I also use absorbing cosmic energies. I can control that world. I can make this world turn into an absorbing world," thought Lin Feng. The atmosphere seemed to boom with thunder, shaking more and more violently. He made his world strength turn into absorbing strength, but his chi kept weakening. However, as his chi weakened, he became more and more determined. That was his last hope. If he lost, he'd die. "I control the strength of the earth and the sky, of the 10,000 things of creation. Who could absorb me? This world is mine," thought Lin Feng. He kept reassuring himself. He felt more and more determined. His will could strengthen his world. Some strength was broken. A cage of absorbing strength appeared around the black phoenixes. Instantly, the gigantic black shadow became cautious. "No, how is that possible? What's going on?" said the voice coldly. He couldn't believe his eyes. "Absorb!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. An ominous and dreadful chi began to rise as he perfectly controlled his world. The group of black phoenixes became smaller and smaller as he absorbed them all. A terrifying pitch-black vortex appeared. The big black phoenix disappeared into the vortex, and Lin Feng reappeared. His chi was shaking violently. How dangerous! He had almost been completely absorbed. His enemy was just a soul, not a saint, but it could still absorb him. Lin Feng raised his head and looked around. He felt more and more connected to his own world. His god strength was also growing more powerful. His soul was fusing together with his own world more and more each day. If he became strong in his own world, he also became stronger in the outside world. If someday he could use his god strength to control the outside world too, it would be amazing. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and his chi slowly became calm again. He had used lots of energy to absorb the terrifying creature. Time passed. Lin Feng completely assimilated the creature and then used the evolution scriptures to modify that strength. He sensed the foundational strength of another saint in this manner. Lin Feng activated the celestial evolution holy scriptures. His consciousness contained all sorts of strengths. The different sorts of strengths gradually became his own. Lin Feng had only one thing in mind: become stronger. Lin Feng was in his own world and forgot time. In the outside world, Lin Feng was buried in the cave. Alma was there and protected the cave. A gigantic godly dragon was next to Lin Feng. Nobody could get close to the cave. He was bleeding godly dragon blood, but he looked alert and he was watching the black phoenixes coldly. Around Alma, there were many destroyed black phoenix shadows. Those phoenixes almost looked real, as if they had had real bodies. Many black phoenixes were staring at Alma, wanting to destroy him. A black phoenix shrieked in hate, and Alma roared right back. Lin Feng was probably still fighting in his own world. He couldn't let anyone attack Lin Feng's real body. There were still many cultivators in the sky above the valley, staring down below. An old man said, "The demon dragon is surprisingly taking risks because of a human. It's rare." Unfortunately, he decided to go into the forbidden territory of the Black Phoenix clan, and he's going to die. Elder, he hasn't come out. Could an accident have happened? There are many ancestors in the valley. They probably absorbed him already, sniffed the elder coldly. Outside of the Black Phoenix clan, a few people appeared, including Lan Gu and Xiaoya. "Brother Lan Gu, let's hurry, I'm worried for my brother," said Xiaoya. She was extremely worried, so she had asked Lan Gu for help. Lan Gu knew that he couldn't do much alone against the Black Phoenix clan. But during these days, more and more people who had an agreement with Mu Shanzi had appeared there. Lan Gu felt sad for Xiaoya, so he asked some people for help. There were 6 people in total: Lan Gu, Hua Qianyu, Qilian Shan, Xiaoya, and 2 others. One was fat, very fat, and the last one was a very beautiful woman who looked gentle and composed. When they arrived on the Black Phoenix clan's territory, some members of the clan rose up into the air and said, "Who are you?" "Piss off," shouted Qilian Shan furiously, continuing to walk forwards. The members of the Black Phoenix clan grimaced. Some people dared so arrogantly on their territory. They looked extremely strong though. "It's the Black Phoenix clan here," said a cultivator coldly. However, at that moment, dazzling lightnings appeared and one of the members of the Black Phoenix clan exploded and disappeared. The others all hissed and released their chi. "Piss off, you asshole," shouted Qilian Shan. He took out a wooden stick and attacked the crowd, the air exploding with the force of his attack. A few members of the Black Phoenix clan blew apart and died. Bestial chi rose up. However, the group of 6 continued moving forwards, as if nobody could stop them. Thunder rocked earth and sky. People from the Black Phoenix clan had the impression their clan was going to get destroyed. It even started raining blood as their members were killed one after another in the sky. The weaker members of the clan were suddenly terrified. 6 people had come to kill their members. How arrogant! Chapter 23:30. Fighting against the Black Phoenix clan. Lan Gu, Qilian Shan, and the others continued on. They were terrifyingly strong. Apart from saints, who could compete with such people? Saints were rarely involved with the masses, so they had even fewer enemies. It was even more terrifying when people like them joined hands. It was why they dared go to the supreme ancient pit of hell together, without asking saints for help. Those people were proud and arrogant because they were qualified to be that way. Apart from Xiaoya, the 5 others couldn't be defeated by anyone but saints. They could destroy anyone who wasn't a saint extremely easily and could slaughter millions of people quickly. More and more strong cultivators of the Black Phoenix clan appeared. However, they quickly realized that no matter how strong the cultivators they sent were, their enemies were still stronger. Apart from Xiaoya, all the others were too terrifying, especially when they were together. Very quickly, the 6 arrived near the valley. Many strong cultivators saw them arrive. They were stupefied, especially the elder, who watched them coldly. These people were so strong. The elder broke a few things and moved towards the group of 6, shouting, "Who dares kill people from the Black Phoenix clan?" "People who want to settle accounts with you," shouted Lan Gu coldly. Lightning appeared in the sky and descended. The Black Phoenix clan folk were terrified. Some weaker people died instantly. Lan Gu was a cultivator from the Thunder Shrine. His lightning strength was terrifying and aggressive, and he loved to use it. He also understood Celestial Thunder Dao to its maximum level. Die! Lan Gu flew forwards, bathed in lightning. He looked like a terrifying thunder god. Millions of lightning bolts blew in all directions. Another batch of phoenixes died instantly. The members of the Black Phoenix clan all had very ugly expressions, maximum level Dao. These people are terrifying. The elder was astonished. Where were these people from? The 5 people killed the members of the Black Phoenix clan one after another. The elder shouted furiously, "Our great elder is a saint. Do you want to die?" "Saint," shouted Lan Gu coldly. "The Black Phoenix Animal District is not strong. That's why you're stuck here, outside of the supreme ancient pit of hell. Poor you. You couldn't even get a better place. You are extremely weak. People don't even feel like destroying you, even though they can. Your strongest cultivator is a half-saint at most. The elder of the Black Phoenix clan frowned and said coldly, even if he's only a half-saint, he can easily kill you, your tiny little insects in his eyes. Is that so? We'll see, we are willing to challenge the half-saint, said Qi Lianshan furiously. The air around him exploded as he said that. You, how insolent! Shouted the elder of the Black Phoenix clan. How shameless of those people to come and kill them. However, even though he was strong, he was alone, and he couldn't fight against cultivators of the top of the Xingdi layer. They had many Saint Emperors in the clan, but they were much weaker than these 5 people because their Dao hadn't reached the maximum level. Saint Emperors whose Dao had reached its maximum level were stronger. There were fewer Saint Emperors with a Dao at the maximum level than saints in the world. But now, a few had appeared together here, in the territory of the Black Phoenix Animal District. Insolent? So what? Said Longu. The elder said coldly, you are from the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. You want to go to the supreme ancient pit of hell. Why did you come here? You are a bunch of evil bastards. We despise you, spat Longu coldly. They all released their Dao power. The air began to thrum with power. After a short time, the elder was the last one remaining. The other members of the Black Phoenix clan were all dead. He couldn't believe his eyes. Very quickly, the old man was surrounded by the 5 cultivators, and was trembling. He finally understood what it meant to be terrified. Those 5 people's Dao wills were horrifying. They were living killing machines. Finally, a mighty aura began to fill the air. It contained Saint's power. At the same time, some weaker threads of Qi appeared, still belonging to the Xingdi layer. Our Saint is here, and you're not stopping, shouted the elder crazily. Die, snarled Longu. The 5 people's Dao power moved towards him. He shrieked and died. He hadn't even been able to hold on until the saint arrived. 3 terrifying phoenixes arrived and glared at Longu and the others hotly. You all want to die, said the strongest phoenix. His eyes were sharp as blades. In the grave of Black Phoenix Valley, Alma was still there, fighting against phoenix shadows as if the outside world had nothing to do with him anymore. Alma was still bleeding. Many scales had been ripped off his skin. The wounds burned. Dad, hold on, you will win. I'm here to protect you, shouted Alma, glancing around. The Black Phoenix shadows moved away. Qi emerged from the cave. It had to be his father's Qi. A few days had passed, he had probably won. If it wasn't his father's Qi, then it was. Little boy, thank you for your hard work, said a familiar voice. Alma couldn't help feeling relieved. Tears appeared in his eyes. His father had won. Thunder began to roll. Alma fell down from the sky and crashed to the ground, but his eyes were still open. He looked determined. He slowly closed his eyes and shrank down into a tiny dragon. Lin Feng broke free from the cave which had collapsed and flashed up next to Alma. He crouched down and put his hand on Alma's body, releasing life strength and helping Alma recover. Alma's eyes twinkled. He opened them, smiling as he shouted, Dad! Little boy, you need a rest. Lin Feng smiled. Alma's body disappeared. Lin Feng raised his head and released God's strength. His eyes went black. He released demon strength to surround the dead black phoenixes. After that, he rose up in the air. He stretched his hand and absorbed the dead black phoenixes. Very quickly, there were no dead black phoenixes left. He then continued rising up into the air. Many black phoenix shades moved towards him, but he destroyed them all. Lin Feng had already absorbed the oldest black phoenix. Even though there was a virtually endless number of black phoenixes in the valley, when he had to leave, nobody could stop him. If they tried, they died thoroughly. Very quickly, Lin Feng appeared outside of the valley and saw the crowd. Longu, Hua Qianyu, and the others? Lin Feng looked stupefied. Bro! Shouted Xiaoya. Lin Feng smiled down at her. Longu and the others were fighting against some terrifying black phoenixes. Xiaoya was there too. They had protected her and had come back to save him. Such people were rare. Xiaoya, said Lin Feng, moving towards her fast as lightning. Some black phoenixes wanted to stop him, but he killed them instantly. They couldn't withstand a single attack. They all died and fell from the sky. Chapter 23:31. Cage of Darkness. When Lan Gu saw Lin Feng, his eyes glittered. Daimon from the World Clan had been imprisoned in the grave of Black Phoenix Valley and had managed to come out alive, safe and sound. That was impressive. Brother, said Xiaoya, smiling broadly. She was so happy and relieved to see Lin Feng safe and sound. She had been so worried that something could happen to Lin Feng. Luckily, he was very strong and had ended up fine. A black phoenix exploded. Lin Feng appeared next to it. He looked at the battle, 5 people against 3. Lan Gu and the others had some terrifying weapons, and there was a half-saint in the Black Phoenix clan, while the 2 others were also extremely strong. They were probably high officials in the Black Phoenix clan. Lin Feng had heard that the Black Phoenix clan had been weakening for a long time. They didn't even have a real saint. No wonder they were on the periphery of the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. The Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell was one of the 7 forbidden territories, was very dangerous, and the chi here wasn't good at all. The Holy Sage ruler clans didn't want to settle in such places, and people who came here were usually extremely strong and wanted to go to the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. Lin Feng kept Xiaoya next to him. Lan Gu hadn't been able to fight properly because he had to take care of her. With their powerful weapons, they could deal with the enemy more easily. The Black Phoenix clan's strongest cultivator was the half-saint. Hua Qianyu from the Celestial Sound Shrine and the Fat Man were fighting against him. Hua Qianyu had a celestial demon zither, a deadly weapon. The other members of the Black Phoenix clan who tried to get involved were killed instantly, unable to compete with those sound waves. The Fat Man also had a terrifying weapon, a bowl. When he stroked his bowl, terrifying sound waves made the air explode around him, and his opponent's souls kept breaking apart. It was a weapon which attacked his enemy's souls. Medium-level saints' weapons. Lin Feng glanced at Hua Qianyu and the Fat Man's weapons. They contained saints' power, although it wasn't as terrifying and oppressive as Qin Shan's power. In the lower world, the continent of the 9 clouds, saints' weapons were considered peerless treasures. Such weapons could destroy or protect an ancient holy clan. Even clans like the Devamara Thunder clan considered such weapons peerless. But in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds and the supreme animal world, such weapons weren't considered peerless. They were also divided into different categories. Lan Gu and the others were from shrines and powerful clans, and they used medium-level weapons. Maybe they had other trump cards. Nobody knew whether they had high-level saints' weapons or not. Those people were core members in shrines and clans, descendants of terrifying cultivators like Qiong Jiotian. Having high-level saints' weapons was something absolutely possible for such people. This time, they had come for the mysterious Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. Of course, whether they had weapons or not wasn't the most important thing. Lin Feng was very touched by the fact they were helping him. The half-saint is very strong. Hua Qianyu and the Fat Man are using medium-level saints' weapons and they allow them to compete with him, but they don't have the advantage. The best thing would be to get rid of the 2 others first, thought Lin Feng. Qi Lianshan and the friendly-looking woman were fighting against 2 gigantic black phoenixes. Lin Feng realized the woman's qi seemed familiar. She must be from the Life Shrine? Thought Lin Feng. Qi filled the air, and Xiaoya disappeared. He was Daimon from the World Clan. He could use world strength if he wished. Nobody was surprised to see that the World Clan had incredibly strong cultivators. There were many legends about them in the imperial court of the continent of the 9 clouds. Lin Feng sent Xiaoya back into his small world so he didn't need to worry about her anymore. His figure flickered and he threw himself at one of the Saint Emperors, the Black Phoenix against whom Qi Lianshan was fighting. "I'm coming," said Lin Feng. Qi Lianshan moved back. Lin Feng looked at the Black Phoenix icily. "Go in," said Lin Feng icily. The enemy had the impression space and time were changing. He appeared in a world of darkness. He glanced around, but didn't understand what was going on. He only saw Lin Feng's eyes. "Illusion," said the Black Phoenix, as the air began to thrum. He kept telling himself that he was in an illusion, but realized that it was useless. The world around him seemed real. But how was that possible? One glance could make him appear in another world? This was the saint's technique Lin Feng had learned in the grave of Black Phoenix Valley. After absorbing the saint's powerful soul, he had understood new spells. Even though they couldn't be considered real saint's techniques, at least they were very useful and he could take people to other worlds. Actually, it started as an illusion, but then looked extremely real. Once the targets were inside, they had the impression they were in another world. That was the biggest difference with ordinary illusion techniques. This time, his foes weren't aware they were in illusions. "You're in my world, you're doomed," said a voice icily. The Black Phoenix was terrified, as cursing and death strength appeared around him. The air vibrated, a black armor appeared around the Black Phoenix as he tried to resist. "It's useless. You're doomed. You're going to die," said a demonic voice carrying cursing strength. Outside of that dark world, Qi Lianshan was watching Daimon. His heart was pounding. What he saw was Daimon staring at the enemy. What a terrifying vision technique. Daimon could attack enemies by glancing at them, and it didn't seem difficult at all for him. If that Saint Emperor hadn't been incredibly strong, he would have died instantly. "What a powerful strength," said Qi Lianshan. Daimon had told him to move aside and leave that battle to him, and as expected, Daimon didn't disappoint him. "I'll come and help you," said Qi Lianshan. He entered the illusion and appeared between the fighters. With Daimon, they defeated the Phoenix quite quickly. He hadn't been able to do anything. Daimon left the illusion with Qi Lianshan. "When I was inside, I had the impression I was in another world. Is that a special power of the World Clan?" Lin Feng shook his head and replied, "It's a special spell I studied on my own. I'll call it Cage of Darkness." "A spell you studied on your own?" Qi Lianshan's eyes twinkled. "How strong? With your spells and my attacks, we'll be a perfect team in the supreme ancient pit of hell. We should definitely join hands." "Alright," Lin Feng smiled. He looked over at Lan Gu and the beautiful woman. They had also finished their battle. Only the half-saint was left. Qi Lianshan smiled and glanced at Lin Feng. His figure flickered, and the 6 of them surrounded the half-saint. The Black Phoenix frowned. 2 Saint Emperors and Saints' weapons were enough to fight against him, but now they were all surrounding him. He felt tremendous pressure. We're going to break a saint today. Even though it's only a half one, it's still awesome," laughed Qi Lianshan. He raised his hand and a medium-level saint's weapon appeared. Without those weapons, such an enemy could resist them. Surrounding him was useless without weapons because his attacks were too powerful. The 5 cultivators attacked with their weapons. The half-saint had the impression he was going to die. He had never thought his clan would be destroyed by humans. He felt like he was the butt of some cosmic joke. He glanced at them. They were all very strong. Chapter 23-32. Going to the pit of hell. Lin Feng also took out a weapon, his 10,000 evolutions cauldron. The ancient cauldron used to belong to the great deployment master, and was also quite powerful. It became more powerful as Lin Feng became stronger. Back when the great deployment master was still a saint, the 10,000 evolutions cauldron was probably a saint's weapon, or it would have been useless to him. The 10,000 evolutions cauldron was extremely hard. Lin Feng had used it when the saint of the fire shrine had chased him, and he had seen how resistant it was. It was almost indestructible. The gigantic Black Phoenix glanced at them, trying to find a way to escape. He knew that those 6 people could kill him with their medium-level saint's weapons. He couldn't fight them off. Finally, he looked at Lin Feng. He didn't think that Lin Feng was the weakest one, but the chi of his 10,000 evolutions cauldron was the weakest. Dazzling black lights emerged from his eyes, and he threw himself at Lin Feng. "Cage of Darkness," said Lin Feng. Energy emerged from his eyes and turned into a cage which surrounded the phoenix. The Black Phoenix stopped moving and appeared in the vision cage. For the others outside, the Black Phoenix was still there and the half-saint could sense it too. Many black phoenixes appeared and stared back at Lin Feng. His eyes hurt. The others attacked. When the cage broke apart, Qi Lian Shan threw his saint's weapon. It rang out and people could hear it millions of li away. The gigantic black phoenix coughed up blood. Sound waves vibrated out. The fat man made his gigantic bowl resonate in tune and attacked the black phoenix's soul. Hua Qianyu and the others used their weapons at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the black phoenix was on the verge of death. Jet black lights appeared all around the phoenix as he spat blood. His body turned into a black beam of light, and he shot towards Lin Feng. This time, Lin Feng sensed those energies were even more powerful. The black phoenix wanted to devour him. It was as if billions of evil black phoenixes were trying to feast on his body. Fusion. Lin Feng fused together with the 10,000 Evolutions Cauldron and activated its deployment spell. Death intent surged forth. Lin Feng's death Dao had reached the maximum level, so when he transformed into the cauldron, the death intent he released was terrifying. The funeral bells could be heard far away. The black phoenixes were quickly being corroded by the death strength and started collapsing and falling from the sky. Lan Gu and the others were astonished. That cauldron was terrifying. It could kill people almost instantly. At the same time, a terrifying absorbing strength filled the air, and the ancient cauldron sucked in the black phoenixes. The gigantic beasts quickly disappeared. Lan Gu and the others continued advancing to where the half-saint was standing and attacked him with their saint's weapons at the same time. Blood splashed. How can he still be fighting in such circumstances? Qi Lian Shan was stupefied. He attacked the phoenix again. The half-saint gazed into the distance and waved his hands. Instantly, a powerful strength surrounded Qi Lian Shan. Many black phoenixes appeared and dove at him. He had the feeling he was going to explode. Luckily, his defense was good. Celestial Earth Armor, shouted Qi Lian Shan angrily. A mighty earth armor appeared around him. The attacks smashed his armor apart, and the half-saint threw himself at Lian Shan. The funeral bells continued resonating. The 10,000 Evolutions Cauldron appeared in front of Qi Lian Shan. More attacks smashed into the ancient cauldron and drove it away. Die! Hua Qianyu appeared above the black phoenix. Millions of sound waves surrounded him from above. Lan Gu shouted out, and lightning plummeted down upon the phoenix, too, even as he attacked himself. Finally, there was a rumbling eruption. The gigantic body exploded in within the lightning storm, like a bolt of thunder going off. Tough bastard, proclaimed Lan Gu. He was impressed. The fighting abilities of a half-saint were incredible. Saint Emperors seemed so weak in comparison. And this half-saint was from a clan which had almost disappeared. Even though they had joined hands, the battle had been fearsome. Luckily, they also had their medium-level saint's weapons. Lin Feng's soul left the cauldron. Finally, they had killed their enemy. Thank you very much. Qi Lian Shan said to Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and said, "You came to help me. I'm the one who should be thanking you. That clan was a bunch of evildoers. Real phoenixes despise them. They should be thoroughly destroyed," declared Lan Gu, glancing around. The few surviving black phoenixes were shaking. The strongest cultivator of their clan was dead. These 6 people were murderous. They had nearly wiped out their clan. "What to do with them?" asked Hua Qianyu, looking at the crowd on the ground. "Let them live their pathetic and pitiful lives. Nobody cares about them in the supreme animal world. We came here for Mu Shanzi. Let's gather with the others," said Lan Gu. The others nodded. They had come for the supreme ancient pit of hell. They weren't interested in the Black Phoenix clan. "Let's go." Everybody departed quickly. 6 people, 4 men and 2 women. Lin Feng went to the gentle-looking woman and asked, "I'm Daimon from the World Clan. Your chi contains life intent. You're from the Life Shrine?" The woman smiled. "I know you're Daimon from the World Clan. You're famous. I didn't think you were so strong, though. My name is Yi Zhiyun. I'm a disciple from the Life Shrine." "As expected, I guessed right." Lin Feng smiled. "You're the only one who doesn't know us, Daimon. Apart from you, we all know one another," said the fat man with a laugh. He was so fat that when he smiled, his eyes disappeared in skin. Maybe, answered Lin Feng, smiling wryly. We don't blame you. The World Clan disappeared for such a long time. You haven't had time to get familiar with the place since the World Clan returned. The one is blue clothes is called Lan Ge, he's from the Thunder Shrine. The big one is Qi Lian Shan, he's from the Earth Shrine. Hua Qian Yu is from the Celestial Sound Shrine. Now you know Yi Ji Yun from the Life Shrine. And me, I'm from the Soul Shrine. Soul Shrine? Lin Feng was startled. He knew that there was a Soul Shrine, but he had not expected the fat guy was from the Soul Shrine. Of course, he had seen his weapon, it attacked souls. Now we know one another. Going to the supreme ancient pit of hell won't be something easy. It will be dangerous. We should help one another. Yes, indeed, Yi Ji Yun nodded. We all count on you, the fat guy said to Yi Ji Yun. Yi Ji Yun was from the Life Shrine and she controlled life strength. It was very useful in case of danger. The group of people talked and flew at the same time. After some time, they arrived where Mu Shanzi and the others had gathered. You're really slow. We've been waiting for you for ages, said Mu Shanzi smiling. Some things slowed us down. Is everybody here? Asked Lan Ge, glancing around. Everybody is here. After the news that we were going to the supreme ancient pit of hell spread, some other people asked if they could join us. We're now 65, said Mu Shanzi. There is a terrifying forbidden strength in the supreme ancient pit of hell. How do we get in? All together or in small groups? They could see the qi in the distance. Many of them were impressed by it. Chapter 23:33. Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. They were at the edge of the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. If they moved forwards, they'd arrive inside it. Since it's a mysterious forbidden territory, we should disperse. If we're too many people at once and face danger, we could all die at the same time, said someone. Everybody nodded. Indeed, even though they were very strong, they knew they weren't strong enough to ignore all dangers in the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. Even saints could be in danger in the forbidden territories. I think so too. The problem is how many groups should we form? Asked Mu Shanzi. We're 65 people, we should form 5 big groups and then smaller groups of 6. Smaller groups shouldn't stay too far from the others to help one another in case of danger, said Yi Ji Yun. I agree. That way, even if a small group is in danger, we can help out. That way, we'll also discover more mysteries about the place, agreed Lan Ge. Mu Shanzi called out, everybody agrees? All right. Everybody nodded. All right, you can form the groups yourselves, said Mu Shanzi. Instantly, people who knew one another and were friends formed groups. Of course, the most important thing was strength. If people considered that someone wasn't strong enough, they didn't want to be with them. Lan Ge and the others had no problem forming a group. They were already 6 people. They had already fought together against the Black Phoenixes, so they were already used to joining hands. Very quickly, all the groups were made. There was a group of 5 people. Lan Ge, your group and mine should help one another, said someone to Lan Ge. All right, Lan Ge nodded. After that, Mu Shanzi smiled and said, everybody, good luck. Let's go. They got ready to go to the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. Let's go as well, said Lan Ge, leading the way. Their figures flickered. The periphery of the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell was boundless. They all headed in different directions. After a short time, Lan Ge, Lin Feng and the others arrived in front of the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. A cold wind brushed against their skin, containing ancient energy. There were some pale bloodlights within it. Let's go in, said Lan Ge. The 6 of them entered the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. According to legends, the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell was a very mysterious place. No matter from where you entered the territory, it was impossible to reach the other end by walking straight. Nobody knew how big the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell really was. So many cliff caves, we could go inside, said the fat guy, narrowing his eyes and gazing into the distance. There was a gigantic cliff cave in front of them, a blood pond in front of it. It was an incredible and daunting sight. The qi is becoming stronger and stronger, noticed Lan Ge. Not far from them was another group of 6 people. Yes, it's an evil qi, as if there was a demon inside, agreed Qi Lianshan. He had incredibly acute perception. Let's move slowly. We have to be careful, whispered Yuzhiyun. Her beautiful eyes glittered as the group continued moving. They could see blood everywhere on the cliffs. They didn't enter any cliff caves, though. How cold! At that moment, they sensed no life, only chill. What kind of qi is that? Asked Yuzhiyun at that moment. They could all sense that some qi was approaching them. Behind! They turned around and saw demon lights in a blood pond. The pond was boiling. What's that? Yuzhiyun and the others frowned. That blood contained a terrifying demon qi, and it was getting closer and closer. Let's go, said Longu. He shouted furiously, escape. They all flew away. The other group reacted at the same time. The qi was too terrifying. What would happen if it surrounded them? The other group also flew away. What's that? Said the fat man, looking back at the blood-red demon lake. It was extremely fast and following them. At their cultivation level, they didn't manage to lose it. There could be anything in the supreme ancient pit of hell. Let's not think about it too much, said Yuzhiyun, pulling a long face. She released life lights, but the blood-red demon lake absorbed them. How fast? It's catching up with someone, said the fat guy, pointing at someone who wasn't fast enough. The blood-red lake even sped up. Accelerate, said Longu. Longu and the others accelerated. In the time needed to burn a jaw stick, they crossed a gigantic distance. All they were sure of was that they had already left the supreme ancient pit of hell's periphery. They were now in the depths of the supreme ancient pit of hell. How fast? That guy won't be able to escape, said someone. They were astonished. Using their godly awareness, they realized that another strong cultivator had been caught by the evil energy. His eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted defiantly, but it was useless. The demon lake caught up with him and he turned into demon lights. His physical body was burned away, they could see his flesh melt and his bones appear. It was dreadful to see. He's dead. Longu and the others were trembling. That guy was dead. Move! Terrifying deployment lights appeared under Lin Feng's feet. Empty space cosmic energies surrounded his body, and he moved at an incredible speed. The demon lake behind them was about 10 li back. If they stopped for even a second, the lake would catch up with them and kill them. In front of them was a desolate mountain. It looked like a horizontal dike. Qi Lianshan shouted furiously. He wasn't as fast as the others, and the lake was catching up with him. Lin Feng turned his head around and moved towards Qi Lianshan, grabbing his arm. The lake was getting closer and closer. Lin Feng took him away. Thank you very much, said Qi Lianshan. But it wasn't the right time to stop and express his gratitude. Because Lin Feng had lost a few seconds to come back and grab him, one step too slow and the lake would kill them. Deployment lights flashed. Lin Feng accelerated again. The qi behind them reached out, trying to slow them down. Hurry! Shouted Longu furiously. They kept calm and continued moving towards the dike. It was a gigantic river of blood. Lin Feng and the others swept forwards without hesitation. The blood-red demon lake was about to reach them, but at the moment they reached the dike, the demon lake stopped and drained away into the blood river. When Lin Feng and the others reached the dike, they stopped and turned around. Their hearts were pounding. The river was extremely long. It seemed endless. It had many bends as it flowed through the valleys. But Lin Feng and the others didn't feel relaxed at all. They had to be extremely vigilant. The river flowed in the direction of a mountain range. There was a figure there, his robe was soaked with blood, his back turned to them. He looked like a cultivator from the old days, motionless as a statue. It was the first being they had seen in the supreme ancient pit of hell. That person's qi wasn't very strong, but they felt pressure from it. Master, shouted Longu. However, nobody replied. The person remained motionless. Longu and the others sensed a cold wind brush against their skin, and their sweat went icy. They sweated even more. After a short time, the figure suddenly moved. The figure slowly turned around and looked at them. They felt they were about to drown in demon intent. Those eyes made their souls shake. Half of his face was putrefied flesh, The other half was distinct. Another one, is he a local? Wondered Lan Gu aloud. Chapter 23:34. Terrifying demons. Lin Feng and the others didn't move. They didn't dare. They just stared at the demon. Who am I? Said a voice. Lan Gu and the others blinked. He didn't know who he was? Lan Gu and the others didn't reply. The demon glanced at them. He looked dreadful. The demon flickered and landed in front of Lan Gu. Lan Gu was shocked. He wanted to run away, but the demon stared at him, and he was unable to move. He had the impression the demon could destroy him instantly. The others were terrified and felt chilled. They were all trembling. Who am I? Asked the demon, staring at Lan Gu. Master, you're Sakra, an ancient demon king, said Lan Gu. His eyes glittered. Ancient demon king, Sakra? Whispered the demon. He then turned around and repeated, Sakra, continually. Sakra, I'm not Sakra, I'm not. Suddenly he sounded angry. He then flashed away and disappeared from the group's field of vision. Lan Gu was soaked in cold sweat and breathing quickly. He had thought he was going to die. What a dangerous being. The supreme ancient pit of hell is terrifying, muttered Lan Gu. They finally understood how horrifying the supreme ancient pit of hell was. That demon lake is endless. Yijiyun turned around and noticed that the demon lake kept flowing into the blood river. Demon chi kept spreading out. She felt really bad. She released life lights, which were instantly corroded by the demon's strength. But Hua Qianyu didn't have life strength. She stretched out her hands and looked at them, noticing something kept changing in her body. She was astonished. That chi is corroding our bodies. Yijiyun frowned. Her life lights disappeared. The demon's strength was corroding her hands too. That guy's life was corroded, and then he turned into a demon? Wondered Yijiyun. The corroding strength was growing stronger. Let's leave quickly, said Hua Qianyu. The group hurried away. There was only one way to go. They kept moving forwards, into the depths of the supreme ancient pit of hell. An invisible and intangible strength surrounded them. They had gotten ready, they knew what to expect, but actually it went beyond what they had imagined. They were really unnerved at this point. The demon lake and the demon were terrifying. If the demon had attacked, what would have happened? There's an ancient tree, said Yijiyun, pointing at a tree in the mountain range. Her eyes twinkled. There was no life in the supreme ancient pit of hell, yet surprisingly, there was a tree. Finally, a sign of life. Indeed, it's a tree. Let's go, said Lan Gu and the others, veering towards it. After a short time, they arrived in the sky above the tree. Is it really a tree? It contains absolutely no life chi, said Yijiyun. She looked disappointed. There were trees of all colors. They had leaves and looked real. There were even some trees which were blood red. Looking at them felt uncomfortable. Those trees are like the trees mentioned in some ancient books, said Lin Feng. Yijiyun looked at one of the trees and got closer to. When she was 10 meters away from the tree, the air hummed and she was hurled away. What a terrifying chi, said Yijiyun, standing back up. Everybody looked at her, nervous now. They're Sitatpada demon trees. According to legends and ancient scriptures, studying demon strength at the foot of a Sitatpada demon tree allows a cultivator to develop more acute senses, and it also helps them deepen their comprehension. When the old days were gone, according to legends, the Sitatpada demon trees disappeared. I never thought we'd see some in the supreme ancient pit of hell. How amazing that their chi hasn't dispersed, said Yiyun solemnly. The others were astonished. Those trees were Sitatpada demon trees? If we had the 3 lives great emperor's mirror of the past, it'd be great, we would be able to see the past. It is said that he gave the mirror of the past to the woman who hates him the most, his daughter. Nobody knows where it is now, said Yijiyun. Lin Feng was astonished. The mirror of the past? The 3 lives great emperor's daughter? Empress Shi? Lin Feng had an ancient mirror, but wasn't it a mirror of the future? Was it a mirror of the past? Lin Feng took out a bronze mirror and put it in front of a Sitatpada demon tree. Dazzling lights erupted and started interweaving. Suddenly, it was like time was been going backwards. Lan Gu and the others frowned and stared at Lin Feng for a moment before looking at the tree. There was a figure at the foot of the tree. He was looking at the tree and looked pensive. After a long time, he sat down cross-legged and started meditating. The tree became distorted and illusionary. It didn't look like an ancient tree anymore. "It's him," said Qi Lianshan at that moment. He was astonished. That figure was someone he had seen battle in someone's memories. "Who is he?" asked Lan Gu. 50,000 years ago, he was an incredible demon cultivator, Mo Ding. When he became a saint, he became even more terrifying and he defeated another very famous saint. The memory of their duel is transmitted from generation to generation. I've seen their fight. He's Mo Ding? The others were astonished. Even though they had never seen what he looked like, they had heard of him, a terrifying saint of the old times. He was in the supreme ancient pit of hell. At that moment, Mo Ding suddenly opened his eyes. Even if the scene was something that had happened 50,000 years before, the group had the impression they were there. They all took steps backwards. Mo Ding groaned icily and flashed away. He rose up into the air, as someone else came and landed in front of the tree. The new man had his back turned to Lin Feng and the others. It was definitely not Mo Ding. Lights flashed and he disappeared. People's hearts were pounding furiously. What about Mo Ding? Where was he? Who's that? Lin Feng suddenly turned around. He was astonished. His facial muscles stiffened. Halfway up in the air, a figure was floating there. Half of his face looked human, the other half looked terrifying. "Mo Ding," muttered Lin Feng and the others when they saw him. They were all trembling. A terrifying strength filled the air. Very quickly, Lin Feng and the others realized that a few demons had appeared in the mountain range and they hadn't noticed them before. They were just standing there in the air above the mountain range. "Those demons are terrifying cultivators from the old days," murmured Lan Gu and the others. Mo Ding and the other demons slowly drifted towards them. "Get ready to run away," said Lan Gu telepathically. Lin Feng and the others took steps backwards. Mo Ding waved his hands, and a gigantic hand moved towards Lan Gu. "No!" shouted Lin Feng when he saw that. Mo Ding waved his hands, and Lan Gu started turning into a demon. His blood chi flew away. He released lightning, but it was useless. He looked like a tiny little insect in comparison with the enemy. "No!" shouted Lan Gu defiantly. Mo Ding threw Lan Gu extremely far away into the distance. Lin Feng and the others were trembling. They said nothing. They had just seen Lan Gu get killed like that. They felt powerless, like weaklings. One of the 7 forbidden territories, supreme ancient pit of hell. Suddenly, they understood why it was called the supreme ancient pit of hell, why it was a forbidden territory. Nobody could invade and conquer this territory, not even the shrines. Mo Ding looked at them. They stepped backwards, wanting to escape, but could they? At that moment, an ancient demon's song spread in the air. The demons gazed into the distance, where they saw a figure on the top of a mountain. That person had his back turned to them as he played some music. Mo Ding disappeared. Lin Feng and the others were startled. They glanced around and realized that the demons had all disappeared in the blink of an eye. They were scared of that music, or more precisely, of the musician. Who could scare those demons away? Another demon? Lin Feng and the others gazed into the distance. Next to the musician, another figure appeared. He was seated there, looking calm and composed in a black robe. Lan Gu had seen him before. Chapter 23:35 Demon Kings in Cliff Caves? Lan Gu. Lin Feng and the others didn't move, but they looked at the mountain where Mo Ding had thrown Lan Gu. They were so sad for him. A moment before, he was with them, and now he was gone. Mo Ding had killed him in the blink of an eye. In the outside world, apart from saints, Lan Gu was considered a terrifying cultivator. He was a genius of the Thunder Shrine. But in the supreme ancient pit of hell, his life was so fragile. Lin Feng and the others felt powerless and weak. "Master!" At that moment, Hua Qianyu looked at the musician and shouted. The others were astonished. She surprisingly took the initiative to call out to him. "Master!" The music suddenly stopped and the musicians slowly turned around. When he looked at Hua Qianyu, Lin Feng and the others were stunned. That person wasn't a demon, he was a human. It was an old man who looked perplexed. However, when Hua Qianyu looked at him, she shuddered. How was this possible? What was he doing in the supreme ancient pit of hell? High Priest. I'm Hua Qianyu from the Celestial Sound Shrine, said Hua Qianyu. Gigantic sound waves rolled out. The High Priest of her Celestial Sound Shrine was there. Lin Feng and the others were astonished. That old man was from the Celestial Sound Shrine. High Priest, whispered the old man. He looked at Hua Qianyu and asked, Who am I? He's amnesic. Lin Feng and the others were astonished. People in here all seemed to become amnesic and forgot who they were. High Priest. You're the High Priest of the Celestial Sound Shrine, said Hua Qianyu. She was speechless. She didn't know the High Priest's name. She had only seen him in memories. It was the first time she had seen him in reality. Is that so? Said the old man. He was muttering to himself. Where is the Celestial Sound Shrine? A strong wind started blowing, and the old man disappeared. The figure in black clothes next to him rose up in the air and said, Master, wait for me. He's calling him Master, is that normal? Wondered Lin Feng and the others. Their eyes were glittering. Very quickly, the two disappeared from the desolate mountain range. We must leave this place, said Yi Zhiyun. They all nodded. The demons had appeared without anybody noticing them a moment before. They couldn't stay here. I want to go back, said Hua Qianyu suddenly. Everybody's faces stiffened. They had come to the supreme ancient pit of hell without knowing what was awaiting them. It was really horrible. It seemed like the only possible outcome for them was death. The High Priest of the shrine had disappeared for so many years, he was stuck in the supreme ancient pit of hell, and now he had become amnesic. Hua Qianyu didn't feel brave anymore. She didn't want to stay there, she wanted to leave. However, could she go back now? Going back now is too dangerous, said Yi Zhiyun softly. No, I want to go back, said Hua Qianyu. Seeing the High Priest of the Celestial Sound Shrine had terrified her. She knew that the High Priest of the Celestial Sound Shrine was a terrifyingly strong cultivator. If he had become amnesic, she had no hope. Will you come back with me? Asked Hua Qianyu. Yi Zhiyun shook her head. She looked at Lin Feng and the others. They said, We're here already. Even if we go back, we might die. Nobody knows. I agree, said the fat man. Hua Qianyu didn't say anything. She turned around and left quickly. She wanted to leave as rapidly as possible. Suddenly, a gigantic hand appeared at the foot of the mountain. Hua Qianyu's face changed drastically. She turned around, she wanted to escape, but the gigantic hand grabbed her. No! Shouted Hua Qianyu furiously. However, the hand suddenly disappeared and Hua Qianyu along with it. Lin Feng and the others were astonished and speechless. Their lives were truly in peril there. Let's go, said Yi Zhiyun. Lin Feng and the others tried to keep calm and continued moving forwards. They had no choice. Lin Feng and the others crossed a valley filled with a cadaverous qi from the deaths of many people. There were some dazzling weapons as well. Their qi was formidable. Another group? Lin Feng and the others bumped into another group. The group with whom they had agreed to stay near at the very beginning had disappeared a while before already. The group they were facing at that moment was only composed of 3 people. There are saints' weapons and corpses, but those corpses haven't decomposed, they aren't even deteriorated. Those people were incredibly strong, said someone, looking at the corpses. He seemed enthusiastic. Don't go down though, it could be extremely dangerous, someone warned him. We're in the supreme ancient pit of hell, danger is everywhere. We're very weak, they died in front of us, and we couldn't do much, said that person. Even if it's dangerous, we have to try. We have to become stronger, that's the only way for us to survive. He flashed into the valley and landed in front of a saint's weapon, a bloody demon blade. He waved his hand and pulled at the weapon. Peerless bloodlights suddenly shot towards him and cut his body into 2. He didn't have any time to react. Even his soul was destroyed. Lin Feng and the others had seen that he was vigilant, but it hadn't been enough. The blood-red demon blade shook and hummed before calming down. They wouldn't forget that sight for a long time. "Let's go," said Lin Feng. They didn't know where they were, they just knew that they were in the depths of the supreme ancient pit of hell, and now leaving was impossible. The two cultivators of the other group followed Lin Feng and the others, but didn't talk to them, staying in the distance behind them. Lin Feng and the others understood what those people were thinking. If Lin Feng and the others faced danger while moving forwards, those two people would have time to leave. "We can't afford losing any more people," said Lin Feng, stopping and looking at Yi Zhiyun, Qi Lianshan, and the fat guy. Two people had died in a short time. They couldn't afford to lose anyone else. Yi Zhiyun hoped nobody would die again. They initially didn't want Lan Gu and Hua Qianyu to die either, but they weren't strong enough, so they hadn't been able to save them. Lin Feng slowly turned around and gazed at the two people behind them. He said icily, "Are you guys moving forwards?" The two of them stared back at Lin Feng coldly. "If you don't, then die." He released Death Dao to surround those people. They frowned. Daimon from the World Clan controlled Death Dao? "Indeed, if you want to use us to progress safely, die," said Qi Lianshan icily. He jumped forwards and oppressed them. "If you don't, then die," said the fat guy. He wasn't smiling anymore either. The two others didn't stand a chance against the four of them. "How cruel," spat one of them icily. They landed in front of Lin Feng and the others and started running away, heading into the mountains. Nothing had happened for some time. Then, a gigantic coffin-shaped building appeared in the sky. It looked like a coffin which would have been used for a demon king. It looked like a palace too. It looked a pit of hell. Lin Feng and the others stopped and watched it. Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell. Was the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell named after that thing? What was inside? Was there really a demon king inside? "What to do?" whispered Yi Zhiyun. They had arrived in front of a gigantic floating coffin. Her soul was being oppressed. "We're not the only ones here," said Lin Feng, gazing into the distance. There were some people in the distance on the other side. It was like a demon had attracted them there. "Let's go inside?" asked Qi Lianshan. Lin Feng was grim and said, "I think that if we don't go inside, we'll never be able to get out anyway." "What you mean is that getting inside is our only hope if we want to get out of the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell?" Yi Zhiyun asked Lin Feng. "There are only two paths, the one in front of us or the one we just went through. If you want to go back, I'll come with you and try," Lin Feng said to his group. Yi Zhiyun's face froze. "Going back the same way? We have only one option then," Yi Zhiyun smiled. She looked at the nest of devils and said, "Maybe we're going to die soon." Their hearts felt heavy. They might be going to die. Nobody could tell. Chapter 23:36. Great Demon Halberd of Desolation. They looked at the floating pit of hell. Lin Feng whispered, "Since we decided to continue, we have to advance courageously with an indomitable spirit." He slowly moved forwards. Very quickly, they arrived in front of the entrance of the blood-red pit of hell and entered. When Lin Feng arrived inside, he realized it was another world, and there were ruins everywhere, complemented by corpses and skeletons. It smelled like death. An evil wind brushed against their skin. Yiyun shivered and said icily, "How cold!" That chill pierced through their bones. The name of that place, the Supreme Ancient Pit of Hell, was becoming more concrete as they moved on. It's the core territory of one of the 7 forbidden territories. "Is this the beginning of the real pit of hell?" whispered Qi Lianshan. A weapon appeared in his hand and diffused lights which contained saint strength. A saint's weapon! Lin Feng was astonished. Qi Lianshan had a real saint's weapon. The fat guy and Tiyun also took out weapons, all of them saint's weapons. Lin Feng took out his 10,000 evolutions cauldron. He had to be careful here. At that moment, in the distance, dazzling golden lights flashed and illuminated the blood-red sky. A terrifying qi filled the air. Lin Feng said, "There's a battle." Their figures flickered and they quickly saw 2 strong cultivators fighting against a corpse. That corpse only had the upper part of his body, his eye sockets were empty, and he released absolutely no qi. He looked completely dead, but he could fight against strong cultivators who had saints' weapons. What a terrifying physical strength. Even if he's dead, he's terrifyingly strong. A saint's body is a saint's body. Low-level saints' bodies are even more durable than low-level saints' weapons, said Qi Lianshan. But that saint was dead. Why was he fighting? And how? It's a zombie. I'll go, said Yizhiyun, jumping forwards. She released terrifying life lights which attacked the corpse. The corpse slowly collapsed softly and looked like a normal dead body. The two strong cultivators said, "Your life lights can counter cadaverous qi." "Thank you." "The atmosphere is so lugubrious inside," said the other one. It was Situba. He seemed extremely annoyed and said, "We should stay together and help one another." Yizhiyun looked at Lin Feng and the others and said, "We're in the heart of the supreme ancient pit of hell, the more the merrier." Lin Feng nodded. "All right, good, let's stay together." Qi Lianshan and the fat guy didn't mind. "How long have you been in here?" Yizhiyun asked Situba and the other one. "Not long. We noticed a treasure, and the corpse attacked us," said the other one. His body was surrounded by golden lights, a sign that he was from the empty space shrine. He was holding a magic weapon which became shrank down at that moment. "A treasure?" Yizhiyun was startled. "Where?" "We'll take you there. There's an incredible treasure, but it must be dangerous there," said that person. Lin Feng and the others after followed him. They quickly arrived in front an altar, a broadsword stuck into it. At the foot of the broadsword was a corpse, in perfect condition. Another saint's body. That broadsword is in his body, it means it killed him here. "How incredible," said Situba. "I wonder whether we can control it or not?" Qi Lianshan went to take a step forwards, but Lin Feng stopped him. He glanced at him and said, "You remember the valley?" "You think it's that terrifying?" said Qi Lianshan. "Can't you see that Situba and the other one don't intend to go and try to take the broadsword?" replied Lin Feng telepathically. Qi Lianshan was surprised, but replied, "Situba wants to use us and see whether it's dangerous or not?" "Possibly. We should leave," said Lin Feng telepathically. The fat guy and Yizhiyun left with them. Situba and the other one were startled. They looked after the four and frowned. The four weren't stupid. If they hadn't seen the valley outside, they would have tried to take the broadsword, but now they were cautious. Lin Feng and the others continued on. Very quickly, they bumped into a demon, different from the demons outside. One of his eyes was missing, but the other one was alert. He glanced at Lin Feng and the others, making them shiver. Lin Feng and the others sensed a cold wind. The demon appeared in front of them. They didn't move. The demon raised his fist and aimed at Qi Lianshan. "Back!" shouted Lin Feng explosively. A terrifying ruler's sword moved towards the demon's remaining eye, but the demon raised his hand and stopped it. He waved his hand and threw the ruler's sword far away in the distance. There was a distant crash. The demon looked at Lin Feng, who moved back with the others. "You saved me again," said Qi Lianshan. He was soaked with cold sweat. "Saved you? We'll see if we manage to leave alive," said Lin Feng. The demon moved after him. Lin Feng flitted backwards, but the demon swooped towards him. He raised his hands, blood reincarnation strength appeared and attracted Lin Feng. "Great empty space technique," said Lin Feng. He penetrated into empty space strength. A blood fog appeared around him, but couldn't reach him. The demon continued moving towards him, his hands clasped behind his back. Lin Feng felt ice cold. The demon's eye looked sharp and expressionless. "Piss off now," shouted Qi Lianshan. He attacked the enemy with his saint's weapon. The atmosphere around the demon crackled with unseen power. The demon simply punched out in his direction. "I just need some people's memories. Who is willing to give me memories?" asked the demon suddenly. Qi Lianshan and the others were astonished. He just wanted people's memories? "If I give you memories, will I become a vegetable?" asked Qi Lianshan. "If you're so kind, I won't corrode your memories, I will just have a look," said the demon emotionlessly. Qi Lianshan took a deep breath and said, "All right, I trust you, have a look at my memories." He walked up to the demon, composed and ready. The demon stretched out his hand and put it on Qi Lianshan's head. Terrifying lights surrounded Qi Lianshan's head for a long moment before he took back his hand and looked at the sky. "So many years have passed again," whispered the demon. Then he turned around and left. Lin Feng and the others took a deep breath with relief. "How dangerous! He wasn't a pure demon. How audacious," remarked someone at that moment. Lin Feng and the others spun around. "Master!" shouted Yi Zhiyun. It was the high priest of the Celestial Sound Shrine. "I'm Yi Yun from the Life Shrine. Master, how can we leave?" "Leave?" asked the high priest of the Celestial Sound Shrine. He was surprised, raised his head and said, "I don't even know how long I've been in here, but I've never found a way to leave." "How did you lose your memories, Master?" asked Yi Zhiyun. "If I knew, I wouldn't be amnesic," replied the high priest. "Maybe demons corroded my memories, like that one." "Where are we?" asked Yi Zhiyun. "Here." The high priest gazed into the distance and answered, "I've never been farther than here. I've heard that this was the Demon King coffin chamber. The demons here are all strong cultivators from the ancient times." "How dreadful," thought Lin Feng and the others. Their hearts were pounding violently. The Demon King's coffin chamber? A terrifying light streaked across the sky, and thunder rumbled. Lin Feng raised his head and saw a beam of light dash to the skies. Suddenly, the blood moon in the sky exploded. "Great demon halberd of desolation. Who broke the seal?" asked the high priest, frowning. He flitted away and disappeared. Lin Feng and the others saw him in the distance. The great demon halberd of desolation? A seal. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.